Here we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to get my screen set up. Ooh, how do I know which one's screen one and screen two? Okay, here we go. Hello, hello. We're going to give it another minute while we wait for people to trickle in from the Gamer versus Gatsby talk. I feel like my adrenaline is going now from that. That was pretty cool. Oh, and Obinna's here. Hello. Okay. Give it a couple more seconds. Yeah, that was really fun to watch. I've never actually beaten Super Mario before, so this was the first time I've ever seen Bowser in that game.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, friends. Hi, Megan.
Hi.
Remind me, I was watching Kyle Gatsby versus Gamers.
Yeah, I was stressed.
I know.
Oh, I don't know if that was like the best headspace to be in right before giving this talk, but okay.
Yeah.
It looks like the numbers have started to level out now, so well, we'll just get started. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Getting Started with Gatsby workshop. Oh, are my slides gonna go? There we go. This workshop is sponsored by Content Stack, so if you have some time later in the day, you can go check them out. They've got a booth at the expo, so you can go and chat with them. They're a CMS, a content management system, so you can go chat with them. Obinna, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hey everyone. My name is Obinna Ekwuno. I am a software engineer at Gatsby. I've been here for like a year plus, and I'm super excited to do this workshop with Megan because oh man, I'm so excited. Like I don't even know how to express it, but like I'm so happy y'all are here. Let's get into this.
Yay. And I am Megan Sullivan. I am a senior software engineer. I work on documentation at Gatsby. And I've been here since September, I think. So this will be good. You'll all learn the things that I've learned since September. So before we get started, just some quick ground rules. I wanted to make sure that we're all entering this with the same expectations. Oh, are my slides all wonky? Let me try that again. There we go. So first off, you belong here. We want Gatsby to be a place where anybody can come and learn and feel welcome in the community. If you get confused at any point during this workshop, that's on us, that's not on you. So feel free to use the chat to let us know what stuff is confusing, where you're stuck, if anything, you want us to repeat anything. There's also going to be a bunch of polls that we're going to use throughout the session. So just as like checks to see how everybody's feeling. Because normally for in-person teaching, it's much easier to get a vibe. So since we're all remote, you'll have to help us out that way by letting us know how you're doing. Also, respect the learning journey, and this goes for yourself and for other people. So we're all coming into this with different levels of experience, both with web development and with React and with Gatsby. So keep that in mind and be kind to other people in the chat. If you see people asking questions that you know the answer to, feel free to jump in and help them out. But also remember to be kind to yourself and keep a growth mindset. And that really means instead of thinking about, oh, I don't know this thing, I must not be good at it, it's shifting to be like, oh, I don't know this thing yet, but I can learn it. And just remember that learning new things is hard, but you can do this. You can do hard things. And the one last thing that I'll add is that we're going to have some breaks scheduled throughout the session. And if you can, try to actually like get up from your computer and go somewhere else, just to give your brain some time to take a break and think about the stuff that you've been learning. All right. Are the slides look all wonky on my screen? Did they also look wonky on your screen?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Hmm.
You want to refresh?
Weird.
You want
Yeah, let me stop and start it again.
to... Okay.
The beauty of live workshops.
You know.
Stop
There
sharing.
you go.
All right, take 2. I restarted my computer and everything.
Oh,
Why is
I
this
did that too
happening?
because, you know, suck the time.
Okay, what are you looking at?
There we go.
Okay, this looks okay. All right, let me know if it starts to look wonky again. I don't know what that's about. Okay, so what we're gonna learn in this workshop, you're gonna be building a Gatsby site. We're gonna be building an MDX blog. If that doesn't mean anything to you now, don't worry, it will later on. These are some of the learning goals of like topics that we'll touch on. So you'll create and deploy a new Gatsby site. You'll learn how to use plugins. You'll learn how to use GraphQL. I know that's a big one for a lot of people that are new to Gatsby. So we'll give you the crash course on that. And we're also going to show you some of the new Gatsby features. Obinna later on is going to walk you through the file system route API. And we're also going to talk more about the new plugin image or image plugin. And the big theme throughout this workshop is we're trying to help you build mental models of how Gatsby works and just like what are all of the pieces to a Gatsby site and how do those pieces fit together and how can you sort of use those mental models later on when you go off and build your own sites outside of this workshop. Next slide. Boom. Okay. Why does it look like this? Okay, I'm gonna try sharing this.
Maybe it's taking some time to render everything.
I know. That's a big old bummer. What if I do this? Is that any better? No, it's like my screen.
Oh man.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Okay. Grrr. Oh, and what happens if you share your screen?
Okay, let me try to share this. Okay, I'm going to present on this screen and okay.
Oh yes, slides. I meant to pin this, but was so hyped up on adrenaline after the Gatsby versus Gamer thing. Okay.
How does this look?
Yeah, that looks good on my end.
Yeah, same.
All right. Oops, I thought that would do something different than it did. Okay.
Is it better now? Are the slide sharing better now? Okay, good.
Yeah, it looks like
Awesome.
I'm trying to pin this thing, but it keeps moving. Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Anyways, what I pinned before was that all this will be available on YouTube. So don't worry if you have to like switch between the workshop.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll edit this part out. Okay. So technical difficulty. Sorry about that.
Yeah, just tell me when to switch to the
So
next slide.
we are, yeah, we'll do pairing. Okay, so this is sort of what the site that we're going to build today is going to look like. You're going to have some pages, some like pages like a home page, an about page, and then the big chunk of it is going to be this middle one, this blog page. So you'll have a blog, it'll list out a bunch of different blog posts, and then you can click on each of those and get taken to a separate page specifically about that post. Next slide, please. Okay. And then this is the curriculum site. So man, how am I going to do this if I can't share my screen?
Maybe it was just the slides because of, I don't know, but.
Okay, well, we will see what happens. Okay. I'm
trying to see if I can bump up the
sorry,
font
now
here.
I like have my own version of the slides up. Okay, I'm just gonna look over here. Okay, so then this is the curriculum site that we've built that you can use to follow along with this workshop. I know that going over slides, sometimes people miss things, or there's like code that you want to be able to copy. So if you go on to this site, there are different parts for each of the, there's different pages for each part of the curriculum, much like the site that you're going to build. And you can follow along that way if you miss anything. Next slide. All right.
This? Oh yeah, this. Sorry.
Yeah, that one. So this is the agenda for what we're going to do today. The time estimates are all rough, but just so that you know roughly how long things are going to take. We've got 3 different 10-minute breaks scheduled throughout. And then we're going to also have a couple opportunities for you to share the sites that you're building with everybody else. Next slide. All right, cool. So, oh, how long is this? This is going to go for 4 hours. Yeah. So there's like a little countdown up in the top that you can keep an eye on. We'll be here for a while, friends. So in the chat, if you all could tell us a little bit about yourselves, just like where you are, what your name is. I guess we can see your name, but just where you are and one thing that you're hoping to learn in this workshop. Nice. Portland, West Coast, Best Coast. Wow. People from all over. This is really cool.
Yay. I see someone from South Africa. Hello.
I'm in the Bay Area.
Yeah. I'm in Dubai. If there's anyone in this side of the world.
All right. Well, while we peruse these, Obinna, can you go to the next slide? Okay. So we're also going to do a couple of polls in here. So if you could just let us know how much React experience that you have, and then also how much Gatsby experience you have. Obinna, do you want to add that one, or I have the doc open, I can add it.
Yeah, I'll add it.
Okay, sweet.
Oh, this were like 2 different questions.
Yeah, sorry. They're like the same question, but one is about React and one is about Gatsby.
Please let us know. Oh.
Yeah, and this is really to help us figure out how much depth to go into.
We want to make sure that everyone is having the best experience in this workshop. I saw a poll from someone. I saw a message from someone saying, "Oh, I don't know anything about Gatsby." You're in the right place, my friend. Don't worry.
Nice. You will by the end of 4 hours from now.
You will be able to do a lot of awesome stuff with Gatsby.
Okay, so it looks like we've got a lot of people who have learned a little bit of React. Some people who are here for the first time, welcome. And then Gatsby, nice, lots of first timers, welcome. Okay, cool. This is helpful. All right, Obinna, can you go to the next slide? Let us get into it. All right, so we are gonna get started. I'm going to try sharing, I'm gonna try sharing my screen again.
So I stop sharing mine?
We'll see. I think we might be able to do it at the same time.
Yeah, let's see. Let's try.
Ooh. Nice. All right. Does this still look all wonky?
Maybe try.
We tested this before and it was fine.
Sharing your just the code. Leave the slides. Maybe it's because it's updating.
Okay. Stop sharing. It's a big old bummer. VS Code. Okay, what does this look like? Okay, but now you can't see like the code that goes, or the browser that goes along with it. Okay, well, this is not ideal, but we shall persevere. Okay, so what we're gonna do now Is this big enough for everybody to see? Okay. I am going to create my first project. So I'm inside of this folder where I want my new repo to live for my new site. And I'm going to type Gatsby new. And when I hit enter, oh, this part, you guys should, or you all should follow along for this first part. We're going to do it together. And then other parts later on will be more like, I'll explain something and then you'll go off and do stuff on your own. But for now, follow along. Okay, so I'm going to call my site, this is my super cool blog. And then it's going to ask you where you want to create your site. You're just going to, if you want to name it something else, you can, but I don't need to. And then this next part that you're going to see, it's going to ask you about a bunch of different integrations that you can add automatically. So if you select some of these, then Gatsby will change which, they're called plugins. We'll talk more about them later, but it'll change which integrations and extra features that it'll add into your site from the get-go. So in the future, when you want to set up sites, you can use these to get started more quickly. For today, since we're just learning and I want to show you how these things work under the hood, we're just going to skip over these for now. So I'm going to say no, hit enter. Same for this. I'm going to say
Megan, I think you're mute. Your mic is muted.
okay, what did you hear last?
We're just going to hit enter.
Okay, great. So I'm going to hit enter and it's going to create my site. And then while this is happening, this is when it would be ideal for you to be able to see both of my screens at once. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to share the browser instead. The real question is, which of these tabs is this? This one. Okay. Cool. So we're going to open this. This is
you want to increase the font?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
Super tiny. Okay, so I'm going to go to my GitHub. And I am going to now create a new repository. So if you click this little plus button up here on the right, you go to new repository. And then I'm going to call this, what am I going to call this? Live workshop demo blog. And then you can just leave these, if you want your repo to be private, you can make it private. I have nothing to hide, so I'll make it public. And then you can skip these initialization steps, and then just click create repository. All right, now let's pop back over to the code. I'm gonna get really good at this by the end of 4 hours.
Yeah, just in case if you need like elevator music, I have.
I feel like I come with built-in elevator music. All right, so now, oh man, I wish you could see both of these at the same time. So now in your GitHub window, there should still be, when you created, let me just show you again. Well, here, I'll just copy it in. So when you create a new repository, there's a couple of different options for setup so that you can link the repository on your computer with this new like GitHub repository. So you're just going to copy the push an existing repository from the command line chunk of code into here. And so what that looks like, you're going to add a remote origin. It's the one that's 3 steps. And then you'll add your remote origin, you'll rename the branch, and then you will push your stuff up to GitHub. Oops, I have to CD into my directory first. So, okay, if you ls here, you can see that a new folder was created. So I'm going to CD into that. And then now I'm going to run those other things. Whee! It's okay, Matt. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my browser. Here we go. Here we go.
How can I help you, Martin? Let me.
Okay, so now if you refresh your GitHub repo, you should see that your starter code that it created for you with Gatsby new. Oh, my Gatsby didn't init with Git. Interesting. Anybody in the chat have any ideas? We've got some
What happened?
Gatsby folks helping out too. For some reason, my Gatsby didn't init with Git. Yeah, you will have to use GitHub for this because that's going to be the way that we set up Gatsby Cloud. So if you don't want to do that step for whatever reason, or you don't use GitHub, you can just follow along with the later parts. But this chunk is going to be getting our site created and then also putting it on the internet so that you can share it with us.
Yeah, you can also,
and other folks in the workshop.
You can also use GitLab if that's the. So Gatsby Cloud supports GitLab and GitHub.
Yeah,
right
perfect.
Now.
Thanks.
Oh,
yes, I did push my changes. So now they are up here. So now the next step is to get this connected with Gatsby Cloud. So I'm going to go to Gatsby, if I can spell, gatsbyjs.com/dashboard. And this, because I'm already signed into my cloud account, will just take me to my dashboard. If you're not signed in, sign in first. And if you go over here, there should be an add a site button. Let me make this a little bigger. Boop. Okay, so I'm going to click on this add a site button. And this is going to take me through a bunch of steps to add a new Gatsby site to my account. So I'm going to import it from a Git repository. And then I'm going to click next. And then there's,
yeah, you know, most people haven't. So if you've not signed up for Gatsby Cloud, like you might need to like set that up first. Because Jim is asking, where is click over here? So if you go to Gatsby,
which here?
Yeah, if you go to gatsbyjs.com and like click login or sign up, like you should see sign up. You click on Gatsby Cloud, you see sign up, and then you can go from there. Let me check this.
Paul, we will get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we are here, you're going to select GitHub because I've pushed my stuff to GitHub. If you're using GitLab, select GitLab. So I'm going to click that. And now it's going to take me to this select a GitHub organization and repository page. So I've got a couple of different organizations listed here. One of these, it might pull up your GitHub username automatically. If it doesn't, you can click this add new organization button. Ugh, is this not showing up either? Can you not see my drop down that I'm clicking?
What? Oh, we can't see the drop down.
Man, Hopin, what is up?
Also,
okay, well, imagine that there's a pop-up window here. I'm really sorry about that, folks. my GitHub username is listed, but there's also at the bottom of that dropdown an add new organization button. And if you click on that, oops, Firefox is going to tell me it's mad about mad about pop-ups. Okay, so it'll take you to a page that looks a little something like this. It'll show you all of the organizations that you're a part of on GitHub. And because I created my repository as part of just my own profile, not part of an organization, I'm going to click on my GitHub username. Oops, I'm going to sign in. Okay. And now it's going to take me to this permissions page for the Gatsby Cloud GitHub app. So if you scroll down here, you can see I've already added some other repositories. So if you want to give GitHub Cloud or Gatsby Cloud permission to access all of your repos, you can click this first button. And if you only want to give access to the repo that you just created, then you can do that here. I have to remember what I called it. Demo blog or something like that. Oops. Here we go. So I'm going to click this. And then I'm going to hit save. Great. And now it's going to take me back to Gatsby Cloud. And now if I click this select a repository dropdown, oh great, you can see this one. You should be able to see your repository listed here. So I'm going to click that. And then once I have that selected, some new stuff is going to show up here. This main branch is just asking like, which branch do you want Gatsby Cloud to watch? Because it will automatically detect pushes to that branch and then rebuild your site. And then I don't want to change the space directory. I don't want to change the site name either, but you can if you want. Okay, now I'm going to hit next. And then these next couple of steps are extra integrations and things that we don't need for our sake, for our tutorial. So we're just going to click skip this step down at the bottom. And then same for this last setup piece about environment variables. Just going to skip that and click this create site button down at the bottom right. And it's thinking. Okay, great. And now you can see down here, it's triggered a new build for your site. The one other thing that we're going to do now is turn on Gatsby hosting.
Yeah.
So I already have mine. Oh, what's that?
Yeah.
Yay. So I'm going to come into site settings. There's a site settings tab here in the middle. I'm going to click on that. And then in the sidebar on the left, like halfway down, there's a hosting button. I'm going to click on that. And then here where it says deploy to hosting, over on the right, I already have it turned off or turned on. But if I turn it off, it's going to be like, why are you doing that? But that's fine because I'm just going to turn it right back on. So this is what it looks like if you have it turned off. And then it's just the opposite. You just click turn on. Oh, it's turned on by default.
Yeah,
wow.
nice.
Hooray. See, this is why it's great to have other Gatsby folks in.
Thanks, dude.
Okay, cool. So you did it. All right. So now that we've got all of that set up, let's go. Actually, let's go back to the slides and see.
To the slides.
Where are we at?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So now there's a new
Oh no. There's a new poll up.
poll. Yeah, there's a new poll just so because I can't tell how it's going. So let me know in the poll. There's a quick pulse check for how far.
So if you want to access the polls, like you're on chat now, you can see the options above the chat. Just click on polls and then you can click on that and let us know. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take a quick pause here to give people a couple minutes to catch up.
I haven't created a site yet. Okay.
I guess people who picked that they haven't created a site yet, I'm realizing now this isn't clearly written. Can you post in the chat whether you haven't created the repo yet, like Gatsby new didn't work, or if you haven't created the new site on cloud?
Oh, okay. So somebody said I voted too early. I'm all caught up. Okay. Thank you. The video will be shared. Yeah, there is a free tier for hosting.
New site on cloud, it failed.
What?
Let's see. This is a good opportunity to look at how to trigger builds. So if your build failed,
Put your screen back up.
you can come over back on your main site page on Gatsby Cloud. There is a trigger build button over here that you can click, and it should start a new build of your site. So you can try that again. Joshua, can you tell me how far you got? Like, which part are you on now, just so I have an idea of how it's going?
Looks like mine.
Yeah, thanks, Lori, for pointing that out. Like, this part is just so that we can get your site set up so that later on when people are sharing their sites, then you can also share yours, because we need a URL for you to be able to show. But if this part doesn't work, we'll give it another minute. But if you can't get this part to work, that's okay too. We'll do the rest of it locally on your machine. Hooray, somebody's got a link to their site.
Awesome. Oh, it should work. Let me see. Nice. If you have your site set up, it's okay to like share the link. Very excited about it. Nice. Awesome. Oh, someone even. Okay.
Yeah, the steps for the command line, to do which piece of it. Yeah, there's npm init Gatsby or Gatsby new that you can use to create your new site. And then the commands to push your changes to GitHub, you can copy and paste those from GitHub when you create your new repository. Yeah, if you're seeing like we're still building your site, it should just take another moment. You can keep an eye on it here.
Okay. Someone was asking if we should start with this startup. Well, if you use this new Gatsby, Megan, sorry, but if you use this new Gatsby command, you you like select the options that you want, and then it uses like those options to create a startup. So it's kind of like a startup, but then it's not like already set up with things that you might not need. It's you that's selecting what you need. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, all of the commands are also listed in the curriculum site that's pinned at the top of the page if you want to follow along. We're on part 1 right now. Okay, so just to keep us on time, if you, I guess, did anybody not get it created locally yet? Because that's really all that we need to go on to the next section. There will also be work time later on where like you can spend more time on your specific site. But just so that we don't have, okay. Yeah, sorry about that, Megan. Name twin, almost, fraternal name twin. Okay, so let's go back to the slides. Let me stop sharing. Okay, so hopefully it's going okay. If it's not during the break time, you can let us know and we'll try and help you do some more debugging. But now we're going to move on to talk about React and styling. So Obinna, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so if you haven't used React before, basically React is a JavaScript library that makes it easy for you to create user interfaces. So if you can see, the text is kind of hard to read on this slide, I'm realizing now, but if you look at this picture on the slide, you can see that if you had like a website, like a shopping site, you can break down your user interface into different chunks, and those chunks are called components in React. So you can see that at the top, there might be a nav bar component that has like your logo and your shopping cart button. You might have like a sidebar component that has some information that you want users to see. And then you might also have like a product grid component that holds all of your products for sale. And then there's also components can be made up of other components. So here you can see that the product grid component contains lots of smaller individual product card components, which talk about just an individual product. So that's basically what we're going to do with React is we're going to look at the UI that we want to create, figure out what the different chunks are, and then use components to build out each of those chunks separately. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so the way that you create React components, in our tutorial, we're going to use JSX. So JSX is, I think it stands for JavaScript extension or something like that. It's the way that React describes DOM components or DOM elements. So under the hood, React is saying, for this component, I want you to create some like tags, some elements on the DOM. And JSX lets you describe what those components should look like using this structure that looks a lot like HTML. So you can see in this first example, if you want to create a component or create an element with JSX, you can just use like the h1 tags or any HTML tags. You can use the tags directly in your variables. So here you have const hello equals h1 tag hello world closing h1 tag. And you can also embed JavaScript into your JSX if you want more dynamic elements. So in this second example, you can see that you've got a variable called name, which we've set to Megan, because that's my name. And then in the greeting element, you can use the curly brackets to insert the value of your name variable into your JSX element. How does that feel? I know that that's it. Some people, the first time that they see HTML in their JavaScript, they're like, what is
this magic?
Yeah. Okay, it seems like we're okay with that. So this is the basic structure for how you create a React component. This is what we're going to do in our files. So your React component is basically a function that's going to spit out some JSX. So the structure of that is going to look something like this here. So imagine that this is a component called myComponent. It lives in a file called myComponent.js. And then the first part of this, Obinna, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so the first step, go back one. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so, oh wait, sorry. There must be a lag. The first step is this import step. And this, when you import React from the React package, that is going to let you use JSX later on in your file. If you skip this step, it's going to get mad. And when it sees the HTML elements, it's going to be like, what is that? And then the second piece is going to be where you actually define your component. Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Telepathy. So here you can see that we've defined a function called myComponent, which is going to return some JSX. So that's the H1, hi, welcome to my site, closing H1. One thing to note about this is you have to return one element. So at the top level, you have to return a single DOM element. So if you wanted to have multiple things, like if you wanted to have an H1 and a paragraph, you have to still wrap those in a single container, so like a div or something, because React wants each component to just return a single element. Yeah, you can use fragments. I'm not going to get into that today, but if you want to Google
the way
React fragments,
I kind of understood this was like
helps.
Every component can only send one thing. So it's like whatever it is you're doing within a component, you send out one thing. So one div fragment, if you're into that. But oh yeah, any component, just one thing is leaving.
Ooh, +1 to class component question. What was? Yeah, we're only going to use functional components. If this is over your head, don't worry about it. But if it's not, we're only going to use functional components for today, just because we're trying to make your lives easier. Okay, and then the third step for your component is you have to export it so that then you can use your component in other files. You should make it the default export, because that will be important later on. Okay, what questions do we have so far about components? The next thing that we're going to do is look at some examples, if you're into that.
I see some conversations going about class components and functional components.
Yeah, that's a conversation that's bigger than us, bigger than this workshop. But you can carry on the conversation. Okay, we are building.
I agree, Alfredo. It's out of scope. Pun intended.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Need help with styling best practices. That's awesome. We're going to get to that in just a bit. You are ahead of the curve. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some components in the wild. We're going to open the code up again. Let me share this.
Share screen. I will minimize it. Okay.
Okay, great. So I'm going to really quickly open. I am just reopening this code window. So now you can see my files in here. And I'm going to go into source, and I'm going to go into pages. And then you can see that there are 2 pages that already get created for you. So one of these is an index page. Oop. Yeah. Can I not make this any smaller? Okay. One of these is going to be the index page. And then one of these is a 404 page. So this one, you'll only see if somebody hits a 404 on your site. And then this one shows up when they hit your
The home.
index. So if I'm going to close the side thing. Okay. So you can see here that this index page is a component. There's some extra stuff in here. These styles I'm going to delete because they make it look pretty, but it's distracting for us. So I'm going to delete all that. I deleted all the styles, and there's like some data stuff. I'm going to delete this comment. So you can see here that you've got your import statement. This import looks a little bit different. That's fine. I'm going to delete these styles because we're going to style things later. Okay, I'm going to delete the rest of this. Boop. Okay, so I've cleaned this up to make it a little bit easier for us to look at. Oh, it all fits on one screen. Hooray. So we can see that here we've got our 3 pieces to a React component. There's the import statement. There's here where we've defined what our component looks like. And you can see that we did what we talked about earlier, where there's only one wrapper. This main element is the one element that we're returning. And then we've shoved a bunch of other stuff inside of that main, which is fine. And then we've exported it down at the bottom. So next, I'm going to show you how to run this locally so that you can see what it looks like in your browser. So I'm going to open up a terminal window. Boop. Okay, and then all you have to type is Gatsby develop, and then and what this is going to do is it's going to start up the development server for your site. And so there's 2 different ways that you can see your site locally. One is the develop server, and one is using like a prod style server. The nice thing about the develop server is that it lets you get hot reloading. So when you make changes to some parts of your site, it'll automatically trigger a new build and refresh the contents of your page, which means that you don't have to like kill the server and start it again to get your changes. All right, neat. So now this is done setting up, and you can see it spits out a couple of different URLs. We're only going to worry about this first one for now. We'll get to the second one in a little bit. So you can go to localhost 8000 in a browser. I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you for your patience while I toggle back and forth between these things. That's not it. There we go. Boom.
Yay.
And we've got a page here. And you can see now, well, I guess you can't see because I can only share one thing at a time. But I'm going to go into my index page, and I'm going to add a new p tag. So inside of the main, so that we still only have one element being returned. Right under the H1, I'm just going to add a p tag. So I'm going to add an open p tag to add a new paragraph. And I'm just going to say, hi there. My name is Megan. Okay, and then I'm going to save the file. It's going to re-trigger a new build. And then, come on. Site develop server not working either. Why is everything breaking? Okay, I don't know why it's not working. So I'm going to kill the server by doing Control-C, and then I'm just going to run Gatsby develop again. When in doubt, turn it off and on again. Okay, and I refresh the page, and then there it is. So if you have If it's not
And,
working, just turn it off
and
and
with
on
this,
again.
we conclude the tutorial. Thank you all for coming.
You've done it. Okay, so let's go back to the slides real quick. Let me stop sharing this. Yeah. Okay, so the important thing to know right now is that Gatsby is going to automatically create new pages for you based on whatever files you have in your source/pages directory. So you're going to get a chance to practice this in a moment, but basically any file that has a React component in it inside of your pages directory will automatically get a new route added to your site. So in a moment, you're going to create a new about page by creating a new about.js file inside of your pages directory. Any questions so far?
Doing all right.
How are we doing?
Sid is helping a lot. Thanks, Sid.
All right. Sweet. Thanks, Sid. Okay, cool. So let's go on to the next slide. This one, I think is, yeah, great. So now it's your turn. So now we've talked about a bunch of stuff so far, and now you're going to create a new about page. And the way that you're going to do that is by creating an about.js file in your source.pages directory, and then creating a new component in that file for your about page. Any questions on what we are about to do before I set you free? If you want to follow along, we're now on part 2 of the curriculum site. And down at the bottom, the exercise prompts are listed. And there's also some hints there. And there's also the solution if you want to look at that. But the teacher in me recommends that you try it first, even if it's a little hard. Try it first before looking at the solution, because you'll learn more. Okay, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and we'll see how you're doing after that.
Yeah, for sure. I was about to say
Feel free to keep asking questions in the chat.
Ask us questions.
Let me share this big timer. Boom.
I love how active people are in the chat. This is so helpful.
Yeah, it's great. What are we doing? Yeah, you are creating a new about page. So if you go to...
So this is kind of what you're doing. So
I'll leave the instructions big.
Should I go ahead, Megan? Oh yeah. So you're creating an about page. So you're going to basically make like the same kind of thing you have in your index page, but then now inside the src/pages directory, because anything that you add to pages turns to a route, which is like the beauty of static site generator. So that's what you want to do. Yay. I just put the timer down so that if you...
Yeah, perfect.
Again, thank you so much for the idea for this curriculum site, Megan.
I personally find it really helpful to have something to follow along with, because I know that I have a tendency to tune out at times, as all humans do. Our attention spans are only so long. So hopefully having something written down. Plus it takes some of the pressure off of us, because then we don't have to say everything.
Because now you can just like see what's going on and do it. Oh, we added like so shout out to Lori. Lori has like explanation of Legos. Explanation of components using Legos. I was not saying. Yeah, so you can also, if you don't want to like look at all the text that we've written, you can just watch this awesome video by Lori.
Yeah, no, her videos
Yeah,
are great.
yeah.
You should definitely recommend.
Follow her,
You
check
should
out her
definitely follow her if you don't. Lori on tech.
explain stuff using Legos. So that's like a good way to. That's a good way to.
No, Lori, we put it in the curriculum. It's on the
Yeah,
website. I wasn't
yeah,
joking.
Lori.
It
Let
was
me
like
let
this is
me send
going
you a
in.
link. There you go. Yeah, it's really helpful
It was too
context.
good
Thank you,
not to.
thank you
More
for
people
creating
have to
this.
see it.
Okay. How we looking? Any questions? We have 2 minutes until we get back to doing this.
If you've already finished, you can push your changes to your repo and then, sorry, I got distracted by the chat. You can push your changes to the repo and then it should trigger a new Gatsby Cloud build and update your site.
Oh, Laurie says this curriculum site is amazing. Mega Nachi did some
Teamwork.
Midas
It's because
touch on this
Nachi made
thing.
it beautiful.
Laurie, if we showed you like a version of this site before Nachi did what he did on it, it was informative.
Any how long this site will stay up for. I have no plans on taking it down.
Yeah, it
The
will be.
curriculum site will probably stay up forever, as long as Gatsby Cloud will let me.
Maybe we could even like host like get like a domain for it and publish it and let everyone get it. Yeah.
So fancy. Yeah, the recording of this session, as far as I know, will go
Yeah, it
up
should be
on
this week. Everything
YouTube
going up on YouTube
later
this
this
week.
week or next week.
Yeah. Well, we want to get like
Woo!
captioning and everything on the workshop. So yeah. Okay. We're
Oh, okay. This keeps counting. Stop. Could
Oh,
you hear it did like a little like
yeah, that was
gong
just me. I thought.
sound when it hit 0, or was that just in my headphones?
How's it going,
Okay.
people?
How is it going? Yay,
Nice,
it looks
nice,
like we
nice.
have some about pages.
Woo. I love this.
This is my
Yes.
site, I guess. I like that.
Joy and share. This is
Woo!
awesome.
Wow, learning Vim as you go, that's so
I
brave.
want to be like you when I grow up.
Kudos. Yeah.
Extreme.
Okay, what
Next
is on
slide.
the next slide, Obinna?
Types of components.
Woo! Okay, before we dig into this, are there any questions? Like, what questions do you have so far?
Man, Sid is
Thanks,
on
Sid, for
fire.
helping with the debugging.
And he's fast with his keyboard because like you're typing a response and then boom, Sid already did it. You're like, what? Sid has 6 hands. He has 6 hands, I'm sure.
Why is the index a class component? I don't think it is.
No,
The one
it's a
that's
functional
automatically
component.
created should have been a functional component. And if it's
So
not, you
what's the
can make it
difference
one.
between these two? It's the same thing.
I I think that it has to do with where it's
Yeah,
hosted.
Sid.
I don't totally know. This is a great
Sid.
question for one of the other engineers. What's the difference between the gatsbyjs.io and the gtsb.io?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Thank
matter
you.
for
Thank you.
us, but it's a good question. Styling. Yes, we are
Graphql
going to be talking about styling
is
in a
hosted
second.
on
So
Gatsby.
hold that thought.
I see Nachi is back.
Look at the teamwork there. You two are
No
telepathic.
decent build, but no
Nachi and
promising
Sid,
end.
they're
Oh
synced.
my goodness. This is teamwork at its finest.
Yeah. If this doesn't mean anything to you, it is okay. Don't worry. You
So,
don't need to know it. I don't even fully understand it. Don't worry. Okay, so we're going to keep on keeping on. And now we're going to talk about the different types of components. Talking's hard. The different types of components that you can have in your Gatsby site. So the way that these are broken down, there's two main categories. So one of them is page components, which is like what you just built. And that's more of like, kind of like this little Wally Lego friend that we have on this slide. It's like a fully self-contained thing where all the pieces for your UI for that page are all contained in that page or in that component. And then you've got this other category of components, which I made up this name. Actually, I think Lori made up this name called like building block components. This is not like an official technical term. This is just what we're going to call them. And those are like smaller, more reusable components. So rather than being a whole UI all on its own, this would be something like a button component or like a nav bar component. So something that's smaller that you can use inside of your page components or even in other building block components to like build up your UI. Atomic components, huzzah!
yes.
Okay, can you go to the next slide, please? Whee! Okay, so we're going to take this one step further now. So you've already built your page component. That was your about page. Within building block components, there's two sort of other subcategories. So one of them is pre-built components that somebody else wrote and you're going to import from a package. And the other one, the other category is custom components that you build yourself. So those are the two sort of options, and we're going to look at each of those in more detail. Oh wait, I saw something. Goodbye. The about page does not show up for me. Does the about.js file? Ooh, interesting. If you named your file with a capital A about.js file, I think that the route that gets created might also have a capital A rather than a lowercase a.
Yeah,
Try that. See if that works.
maybe,
Because
but then you should
it shouldn't
always
have to
like
go in a subfolder.
name your pages in lowercase.
Yeah, hopefully that helps. Okay. Obinna, can you go to the next slide, please?
Gatsby link.
Beep boop. All right, cool. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the pre-built component category. So Gatsby creates this component for you. Like you can import this link component that you can use in place of like an A tag that you would normally use, like an anchor tag for links on your site. So a couple things about this. The link tag gives you some prefetching. There's some performance benefits to using it. So like if you have hovered on a link, it'll automatically start loading the page that's behind that link, so that like when you click on it, it'll load the new page super fast in your browser.
It actually uses
yeah, I think that it
Reach
uses
Router.
React Router under the hood. Oh, Reach Router. Oops, I didn't know those were different. Today I learned. Okay.
This one?
Can you go back one? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so what was I saying? So that gives you, so you get prefetching. The other thing to know about the link component is that you should use it just for other links on your site. So I don't think you get the same performance benefits if you were going to like link to Google and use the link instead of the A tag. As far as I know, this is for linking within your site. So the other cool thing, or the other like new thing that we're going to learn about now is something called
This
React props. Can you stay on that slide for a second? The link one, the one before that. Yeah, so see how in this component, this is showing like how you import the link component. And then this second chunk is something that you would put inside of the return statement for your component. But there's this new piece here. There's this to equals / about. And this is something called a React property. Now can you go to the next slide? Thanks. So properties are basically values that you pass into your components. The same way that you pass in like a property or like an argument or a parameter into a function, props are basically the component version of that. So using props, you can change the way that your component renders. So like this link tag, the DOM element that gets rendered is going to have a different href value based on what is passed in as the to prop. Questions about
is
that?
the link tag affected by default? No, I don't. No, it's not.
Not as far as I know. It should be the same. This at least will work. There might be some other things that changed, but okay.
Thanks, Sid.
Cool. Oh, thanks for the link, Sid. You're great. Yeah, a prop is it's this first bullet point. It's the value that gets passed into your component. It's short for property, but I say prop. Okay. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Now you. No, I was saying now you
Great.
do.
So now, yeah, what were you gonna say? Yeah, perfect. So now you all are going to do some stuff again. So we're going to use the new link component from Gatsby and add links to your home and about pages. This is sort of like the precursor to a nav bar. So on your home page, add a link to your about page, and then on your about page, add a link to your home page. Questions about what we're doing now? I'm going to set a new, is a link relative? Yeah, you can use the relative path for the to property. Okay, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes and we will see how far we get.
Yeah,
you do still need the
to
import
link from
statement, I think.
from Gatsby.
Do you not? Is there any difference between react.fragment and just, I don't think so. I think that those are the same thing.
Yeah, it's
react.fragment and the like just
it's just like close. How many people type react.fragment like, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it does.
Why type more things when you don't have
that
to?
make your code readable, but yeah.
Oh shoot, I forgot to set a timer.
Yeah. Nice, Michael.
Let me share this timer again.
Nice, Michael.
You get a bonus minute because I forgot to hit pause.
Please, if you've implemented this, just let Gatsby Cloud build so that you can see your site live. Um, I'm already seeing some very nice sites. Awesome.
Actually, I'm gonna make a quick adjustment. We're
Yeah.
only gonna spend 1 more minute on this because we've got things to do.
I don't know how Sid is typing so fast, but because oh my goodness. Yes, Paul, I agree. I have a specific question. I'm building. All
Ooh,
right.
okay. We are gonna keep chugging along. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the link component? Sweet. All right, so now that you've had a chance to try using a pre-built component, we're going to build a custom component. So you are going to do this yourself, and it's going to be great. It might be a little hard, but that's okay. That means you're learning. Okay, can you go to the next slide, please? So what we're going to do now is we're going to build a layout component. So you might have noticed that there's some duplication across your pages. Like they've got a very similar structure where there's like a heading, there's a heading and a link and maybe some contents. And ideally, if you have a similar structure across multiple pages, you don't want to just copy and paste the same code because then updates are a pain in the butt. But you can create a layout component to make that easier so that you can make all of your updates in one place and that will automatically get used in all of your other pages. So in order to do this, we're going to have to talk about two things. The first thing is the children prop, and the second thing is styling components. So let us get into it.
Yeah.
Can you go to the next slide, Obinna? Huzzah! Thanks. Okay, so first, the children prop. This is a property that gets automatically created for you by React. So basically, the children prop contains whatever contents are between the opening and closing tag of your element. So you can think of it kind of like a picture frame. So like if your component, if your like layout component is the picture frame, you can put whatever contents inside of that that you want. So you can have like a painting. You could even swap this out if you wanted it to be like something besides a painting. You could put like a poster or a photo or I don't know, a newspaper or something like that. And the layout component, your like picture frame, doesn't care about what the contents are. It's just going to have whatever the style and shape of your frame is. So the way that you use that, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so using children in your props looks a little something like this. There's two different parts to it. The first part is when your component is rendered. So this would be like in your page component. You use the opening and closing tag for your layout component the same way that you would normally, like with other components. But then in your component definition on the right side, you can see how you actually use the children prop to render the contents. So, sorry, in this first example, so when you render the component, the children is going to be that p tag in the middle. So the contents in between the opening layout tag and the closing layout tag.
Yeah, I went back.
And then inside of your component definition, oops, sorry, can you go back? Inside your component definition, you can, this syntax for the function, what are those called? The function parameters, you can destructure that to pull out the children property from your properties. And then you can just use that like a variable inside of your function.
So we have a question about where do I store my components in Gatsby's file structure, folder structure?
Oh yeah, you can put them wherever you want. Oh yeah, Sid says we usually create a like source/components folder.
No, there's no basic question. Just ask
whatever
away.
you want.
Ask
Yeah,
away, please.
Go for it. That is why we are here. If you could ask your questions all in one message, it will make it easier to follow in the chat. Oh, I think Sid has you covered though.
Who is Max Headroom?
Oh, it's like an old show from the
I have to go
80s. I
watch
don't know
it.
when it was from. That's funny though. I'll have to go and look at that.
Him.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so now we're going to talk about styling. So you can use whatever styling approach you want in your project, but for this workshop, we're going to use something called CSS modules. The nice thing about that is that your styles will get scoped to your component, which means that you don't have to worry about name collisions and things like that. So the way that you use styled components, there's two different pieces. So first, you're going to create a new file where your CSS is going to go. The important thing about that is you have to have this .module.css extension, because that's how Webpack is going to know that this uses CSS modules. And then inside your CSS file, all of your styles should use class selectors, because that's going to be how your styles get created. So you can create different class selectors, use the normal CSS properties that you would want to add styles to those classes. And then inside of your component, you can import the styles from your module.css file, and you'll import each different class by name, and then you can apply those classes or those styles to different elements using the class name prop.
Maybe So I just want to add, if you want to add the styling, right? So in your components folder, then you want to have, so the reason, so you can actually put your components wherever you want, but then really just to make it organized, you can put the components folder and then have your layouts in that for layout.js in that folder, and then have the styling for that just right after it. So layout.modules.css, so that it looks more organized. So yeah.
Sweet. So
Tailwind.
can you go to the
Yeah.
next slide? I think that this should be everything that you need. Great. So now we are going to, or you are going to create a layout component. So using what we've learned about children and about styling, you can create a new layout component. We recommend putting it in source/components/layout.js, but you can put it wherever. And then the next step, you're going to import and use that layout component in both of your page components. And then you can also add styles to make your layout component pretty. Questions about what we're doing now while I set a timer for, I'm going to give you
So
8 minutes.
yeah.
This is kind of a
I
long
don't. Yeah,
one.
we're using CSS modules so that you can,
Well,
not
let's
so
do
you can
7
have
minutes
one
and we'll see
huge
what
CSS
happens.
file. Mostly like, oh, okay, Sid is already on it, but then I'm still going to say it. It's mostly so you can have your like components, so you can have the styling like broken down for each component and not have to worry about if you name the same thing in different places. It's actually a good way to implement like the BM like convention. So like you're sure that your styling has like proper names and it's not colliding with different other styles from different places. So it's just a good way to like modularize your styling. Um, why not class? No, you have to use the class name with CSS modules. Yeah, sure. I mean, with Gatsby, you can style with whatever you want, right? I mean, support style components too, and Tailwind and CSS JS. But we're just trying to use CSS modules here because just to keep everything organized for the workshop. No, so within the style.module.css, that's where you actually write the styles. So you're not going to have to like create a new. So the layouts.modules.css is a file, not a folder. So that's where you're going to write the CSS. No, we'll guide you to write in the CSS, so you don't have to just create the file. No, okay. See, I'm not even sure what questions I'm answering. Just I I think I was okay. Okay, got it. Yeah, so with I'm trying to answer Alfredo's question now, just so I know which one. So if you create styles for layouts, so the definition of a layout is like we want it to be everywhere across the platform. So that's why we regard it as global styling. But if you wanted to have like different pages, like if you wanted to have like a homepage styling that's different from the layout, and we're not going to wrap that inside the layout components, then you would have like an index page styling for that. So yeah, you can consider the layout styling in regarding to this workshop as global styling because we're really going to wrap our whole application in layout components, and you'll see how soon. I love the interactions that we're getting. I love these questions, man. It's like I never wondered the difference between Gatsby Gatsby.io and J the other extension. I'm like, oh wow. So preference for package managers, no. There's no preference. Like you can use whatever you want, but make sure you're not using the two at the same time. I know why I say this because I have done this in the past. So so the way I figured this out is if you have like a package lock JSON, then the file manager is probably using npm, and then if you have a yarn.lock, then it's probably using yarn already. So but Gatsby by default should check for which one you have on your computer and then use that. So yeah. Hmm. With React and Gatsby styling comes down. The world is your oyster. Yes, John. Yeah. No layout doesn't have to be capital like layout.js. Yeah, maybe no. Let me.
Yeah, we can walk
Oh, I was
through.
gonna just
We can walk
minimize
through
the
how to do it.
timer.
I'll stop the timer and we can do that instead.
Oh,
I think the problem is I can only share one thing at a time, and my computer, yeah, won't let me
okay.
share them both. Okay, which of these is?
I think we're at 5 minutes. I'll just
Which
set
of
a
these
timer
is
for
what's
5 minutes here, and then you can walk through it.
gonna?
Cool. Oh,
Yeah. Oh shoot! Did I just? Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so here is my code. I think that I've caught up now with where you all should be at. So we've got an index page. It's got the title, the heading, this link to the about page, and the about page that looks similar. So I'm going to go, the first step, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to put this in the components directory, and I'm going to call this layout.js. Okay, so I sort of cheated and did both of those, creating a new directory and creating the file in the same step. So now that we're in here, I'm going to do my 3 steps for how to create a React component. Does anybody in the chat remember what those 3 steps are? This is a good chance to practice what you've learned while you are typing that. I will also type it. Yep, so import React from React. Look at you all. What's the second step? Totally agree. You are not too old to learn something new. Okay, export, that's one step. Export, default, but what do we export? Oops, silly autocomplete. Okay, export default layout. And then the third step, yeah, const component name. Great. So we're going to define this. I'm going to call it layout. And then this is going to be a function that's going to return something. So what I want the contents of this to look like now is going to be based on the structure of this file. So I'm going to shut this sidebar. So I know that this is roughly what I want my page structure to look like. This is like the shared stuff. So I'm going to copy this over into my layout component for now. And then we're going to make adjustments to this as we go. So first of all, I want to get rid of some of this stuff. So instead of this, really, I want this hi there, my name is Megan. I want that to render whatever the contents of my page are. So if you think back to the picture frame analogy, this layout component is going to be the frame, and then whatever we pass into it as children, that's going to be the contents of the frame. So that's going to be like the stuff that you can swap out for each page. So in here, I know that I want to use the children component, and since it's JavaScript, I have to wrap it in curly braces. Okay, and then to actually get this out of here, I have to pull it out of props. So I'm going to destructure my props object and pull out children. So this should be fine. While we're in here, I just want to make my my little nav bar consistent. So I'm going to add another link to just the home page. And actually, did I import this link? I did not. So let's import this link component. Oops. Typing. Okay. So this is a good start. And now I'm going to go back to my index component. And I'm going to, now I want to use my layout component in here instead of a bunch of this other stuff. So I'm going to import, did I make this the default export? Yes, okay. So I'm going to import layout from this. I have to go up a level to get out of pages and then go into components, into layout. And now I should be able to use this layout component in here. So I'm gonna swap out this and, oops, actually, I forgot what this said. Okay, I'm gonna swap out this part. I'm gonna delete this. I'm gonna move this p tag. So now the p tag is inside of my layout component. So this will get passed in as children. Yeah. Okay, this is mad. Okay, great. So now this has refreshed and you can see that the homepage still looks, the styling's not cute. Oh, you can't see it because I can only share one thing at a time. Ah, sorry. Okay, take 2. Is it this one? Whee! Okay, this is a big old pain in the butt. So now you can see, well, you could if this wasn't tiny. You can see that the contents of this page are pretty much the same. It's not cute, but the words are there. If you go to the About page is not yet using the layout component. So let's, oops, wrong button. So let's add that. I wish there was an easier way to switch what I was sharing. Okay. Whee! So now let's do the same thing. Oops, I guess I can delete this link since we're not using link in this file anymore. And I'm going to go over to About, and I'm going to do the same deal here. So import layout from components layout. And then I'm going to swap out this stuff with the opening layout tag. I'm going to scooch this up in there. I'm going to delete this. So now this is what this looks like. But switching back to the browser. But this is going to do something a little bit funny. Oops. So now you've got your layout component in the site, but see how the home page and the about page now both have this same header? I don't love that. I want to make that dynamic. So I want it to change on one page versus the next. So I'm going to use props to do that. And the way that we do that, let me share my code again. Whee. Okay, so really what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to pass in something called like page title. And then I could say, this is the about page. And then on my home page, I want to be able to say the same thing. So pass in the same property, but with a different value. So this would be like home page. So now in my layout component, I have to make some changes so that it will actually use that property. So in addition to pulling out children from props, I'm also going to pull out, what did I just call that? Page title. Okay, and then I want this to show up. I'm just deciding I want this to show up in here. So in the title, whoops, boop. And I want it to show up in between this header too. Boop, 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 boop. Page title. So now if I go, oh, this is mad because link is defined but not used. This is just an import that I don't need anymore. So now if I share my browser again, oh, what a fun dance this is. Okay, so now you can see that we've got the home page and the about page, but now they each show different titles, which is what we want. So that's just one example of how you can do properties. And then to style this so that it doesn't look quite so sad, now I'm just going to put this styles inside of this same components directory because I can. So I'm going to call this layout.module.css.
Actually,
ooh, was it module or .modules?
what module?
Well, we'll
Just
find
one,
out.
no S, yeah.
So yeah, what was that? Module. Hooray! Thanks. So I want to, this is when split screen would be dope, but alas. Okay, I want my navbar items to have a little bit more spacing. So I'm going to add something here, a class name called navbar. Let me shut this so you can actually see it. I forgot that you can't see my browser. Okay, and then in here, I'm gonna say, what is that? Padding, right? I'm gonna add 2 rems, and we're just gonna see what that looks like. Oops, does this need to be in quotes? Oh, I created this style, but I haven't applied it to anything. That's why this isn't working. Oy. Okay, so now I'm going to, back in my layout component, I'm going to import that class that I created. What did I call it? Navbar. So this is going to be nav. One tricky thing is that when you use dashes in the class names, that's going to get converted to camel case.
I think is also what mentioning why
variable.
we're doing name components
so
with
keep that in mind.
CSS modules.
Oh yeah, this is different for V3. So for v3 of Gatsby, we changed the way that you import styles from or with CSS modules. So now you have to do named imports instead of just saying like import styles from like this, what was it? Layout dot
Awesome.
no, layout dot module dot CSS. So then I want to apply this to, actually, this should be, we really want to put these in a list because it's a list of navigation components. And actually, for semantic HTML, let's wrap them all in a nav. Nav. Oops. Okay, I'm going to indent this. So I want to put li, ugh, this is a pain. There we go. And another li. Okay, so now I want to put my nav bar, so this padding right style, I want to apply that to these li elements. So I'll do class name equals nav bar. I'm realizing now that's not a great name for that class. Okay, and now that I've made them a list, it's showing, man, you can't see this.
Oh, Jim, why aren't none of your parts working? Did you import link? Megan, could you show this screen for using the about page, like creating the about page and layout again, just in case?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
this is what my import looks like.
I just typed up. Maybe check where that's inside.
It might depend
pages.
on where your files are.
Oh yeah. Inside pages folder.
Yeah, Brian, there's a plugin for React Helmet, which we'll get to in a bit. That's the next section that you can work on adding stuff. Okay. It is already 11, well, my time. So I'm going to just keep on moving. The beautiful thing about styles is you can keep adding styles for as long as you want. You can keep customizing it to make it look prettier than what I have now. Any questions on what we've talked about so far with creating components, styling components? Actually, if we go back to the slides, I think that's the next slide is just like how is it going? Yeah, if you want to pop into the polls, we'll add a quick poll for this. Thanks, Obinna. Can you show up to the nav bar import statement one more time? I can show you what my code looks like right now, if that's helpful. You can also follow along in the curriculum
there are
site.
hints. So
There's more examples in there. Share the screen. My style's not too stylish yet. That's how I feel always. Styling is still an area of personal growth for me. Okay, so we're looking at the code. Which part of the code do you want to see again? There's this. This is where you import your nav bar. Index.js, please. Okay, here we go. Ta-da! Can I see your CSS? Maybe. Do-do-do. Can we look at both of these at the same time? Hooray.
awesome. There's a new poll up. Check
Woo!
that.
Looking good. Yeah, so if you could answer the poll and just let us know how you're feeling about components and also just how far you got.
I love what you're doing with the fonts. Every time he deploys, it's a new type of font.
All right, looks like we're feeling pretty good. I know, that looks great.
Sorry. Oh, wow.
Okay, so we've been going at this for a while now. So let's switch things up and we'll do a break here and then we'll move through plugins next. Let me stop sharing this and set another timer. Okay, we're a little bit behind, so I'm going to change this. Instead of a 10-minute break, let's just do like a 5-minute break. See how that feels. So, So if you want to take a quick break, step away from your computer. I'm going to see if I can figure out why sharing my screen doesn't work. And then we will meet back here in 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
So you can get, so what we're not doing like global styling, we're trying to use CSS modules, which is like styling components in a modular way. So you're going to use like you can check this curriculum site that's pinned up here to see exact instructions, but we're just trying to style the layouts because we want to use the layout to wrap every other page. So I hope that answers your question. How can I change goal styling?
Yeah, if you want to do other types of styling, you can check out the docs, like our Gatsby docs, gatsbyjs.com/docs, and there's more information about other styling approaches there. But here we're only going to be talking about CSS modules.
Oh, hi. Great. Let's debug this. All right, Megan, try and share all of your screens on one thing. Hi, everyone. We're taking a second to try and make this a little bit smoother for everybody.
Okay. Wee, less bopping around.
So this is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. Is there,
fine.
What's the difference
until I try to
between
shift.
basically, are you working on dual monitors? Have you tried sharing the other screen? And just flip them?
I am, but I'm only sharing one of the screens. I haven't. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Woo, you can all see yourselves.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, is this gonna work?
So try moving around.
See. Does that work?
Just like click. Yeah, you're good. Just use this screen.
Slack, but
it's probably the resolution of your external monitor, and that's fine, cool, whatever. I just swap what you have on which screen. It might be a little bit harder for you if it's a smaller screen to navigate, but I think it'll make it a lot easier than going back and forth. And
Lori strikes again.
Yeah,
I have done this a fair few times.
Great.
At the last minute, something always breaks. It's usually my lighting structure for what it's worth.
That was a big old pain in the butt.
It's really weird and creepy and dark right now because I have the light on above me, so my light is not super bright. Hold on.
Oh no.
Hi everybody. We owe you a new Lego kit. I mean, I will happily take that bribe.
Okay. Here we go.
I feel like I'm very appropriate for this event because I have my Gatsby swag and then I have my Hacktoberfest from this year.
Yay.
All right.
So, or is this last year? This is last year. Sorry. This is 2020. I'm wearing that shirt. Right. Yes, it's a great shirt. Hacktoberfest. So this was actually particularly special to me, this shirt, because this was the first Hacktoberfest that I helped maintain. And literally I joined Gatsby on October 28th. So the last 3 days of Hacktoberfest was just me doing all of the community approvals and looking through everyone's doc stuff. And it was really, really amazing to see. So we really appreciate our community and all of the contributors. So thank you for being a part of it. It's what makes our job fun, honestly. I don't like building for people I never get to meet. So.
Yeah.
Okay, Megan, there's some weirdness going on right now. So what I want you to do is yeah. Wait, okay. So this looks fine. Close out of your Slack.
Okay, let me try changing my resolution.
Okay, move over.
Not what I wanted.
The slide deck.
Now all the windows are in different places.
Because I think that's what's causing the problem. I think it is literally Google Slides. So instead of opening it full screen and clicking around, can you just tab through each of them and switch them? Great, cool. That's what you're going to do. And then the other thing you're going to do is you're going to split screen your VS Code and your browser. So can we see what that looks like? Great, cool, awesome. We're much better off than we were before. I think you're good to go. I wouldn't mess with anything or try and make anything full screen. But this, I think, will help people follow along and make you less stressed about all the things you're moving around.
Thanks, Lori.
And I will be here for, can I answer a question while I'm on chat because it'll be faster than typing?
Thank you.
I'm looking
you are
at the
a goddess.
Blogs that we're seeing. Thank you very much for that. Let's see if there's anything I can figure out just by looking at this. Okay, so hold on. I'm opening two things. These are the things in the chat if anyone else wants to look. Uncaught type error, failed to invalid URL, caught at Y. Cool, link to / Okay, yes. So I believe I do know what is happening. This is a quirk of the link implementation. It does not tend to like those single quotes. I don't know why. They are normally the same. Link doesn't like them. So try double quotes and see where that gets you. And if you're still seeing those console log errors. I wish I could tell you why. Probably some internal ESLint weirdness. I haven't looked at it too closely, but as a general rule, it doesn't like them. So Megan, if you want to bring up where we're using link in this example, please. So look at the link to, double quotes. Yes. So she's not seeing this console log, I don't think. Can you double check, Megan, the console log in the browser? Yeah, you don't get these issues.
In the browser.
Also, you have some weird like white thing to the left, so it's not showing all of your. We're not going to worry about it. Also, if anyone wants to look up the origin of the Gatsby purple, it is a hex color called Rebecca purple, and it has a really touching story behind it related to the overall web dev community. It's a cool story to look up. If you look up Rebecca purple on Google, you'll find it. So that is the official color purple of Gatsby. And now I'm going to give it back to your illustrious hosts. Thanks you all for being here. If you have questions, I will be the one answering them in the chat.
Thank you so much, Lori.
Yay, you're amazing. Thank you. Life will be better now. Okay, so now that we're here, let's talk about plugins. All right, so plugins are, they're individual NPM packages that you can install into your Gatsby site to get some extra functionality, basically for free. You can think of them kind of like those fancy kitchen accessories, like this funny apple peeler or this like garlic press. You don't need them, but they'll make your life easier. Same with plugins. Like you could build all of the functionality that's in a plugin by yourself from scratch, but it's going to take you a lot longer than if you were to just use a plugin built by somebody else. So to use plugins in your site, this is a good, if you were to screenshot anything, this would be a good slide to screenshot. This is going to be your basic process for how to use a plugin across your site. So the first step is you're going to install it. Sometimes you have to install just the plugin package. Sometimes there are extra dependencies that you also have to install. So it's good to check the plugin README for the exact details. The second step is you're going to configure that plugin in a file called gatsbyconfig.js. We'll look more at this in a second. And then step 3 is sometimes you'll need this step, sometimes you won't. Step 3 is basically like the catch-all bucket for whatever you do with that plugin. So sometimes you don't have to do anything because you'll automatically get the stuff that you need just by importing and configuring the plugin. But sometimes there's other components that you want to use. Sometimes there's like extra steps that you have to take. So check the plugin README for whatever specific plugin that you're trying to use for more details. So we are going to go through and do this together. We're going to look at an example. So we're going to take a look at the Gatsby plugin image, the new plugin that Lori and friends built. So I'm going to drop some links. This is actually nice because I can access the links in the chat. It would. So these are docs. They're also linked in the curriculum site if you're following along there. But we're going to go through this together. So hopefully it should all be okay. So the first step, wow, this is so great. I can just switch between my screens. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we are going to open up another terminal window. Okay, so I want to install, I'm going to npm in, I guess I'll type the whole thing out. npm install Gatsby plugin image. And I'm also going to install a couple of other things too. So if I look back at this, the how-to guide for, and you can see this. This is amazing. The how-to guide will show you the full list of all of the, let me make this bigger, all of the plugins that you have to install. So we're going to install Gatsby plugin image, Gatsby plugin sharp, Gatsby source file system, oops, and Gatsby transformer sharp. We're not going to use a couple of these until later on, but we're going to import them all now just because we can. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 plugins altogether. And then while this is importing, I'm going to open up my Gatsby config file. So this gets automatically created for you when you run Gatsby new. And if you come and poke around in here, I'm going to shut this again. Whee! So you can see that there's some stuff in here automatically for you. So you've got this site metadata object that has some information about your site. This is the name that you gave your site when you created it in Gatsby new. And then there's also, oops.
Let me get Lori back in here. Okay, it's good, it's good.
Why does this happen? What if
Let me just hang out while we do this, shall we?
No.
It is. Also, there's things I need to explain.
Let me know if that keeps happening.
Nice.
Yeah.
The plugins you want are Gatsby plugin image, Gatsby plugin sharp, and Gatsby source file system. Eventually, I don't know if this is in your Okay. Can I just do the explanation here for like 5 seconds? Okay, so Gatsby, this is actually a little bit confusing, and I wish it were simpler, but this is how you generate really performant images, and it's as complicated under the hood as it is.
Go.
As it can possibly be. It's one of the hardest challenges I've worked on in my development career. So Gatsby plugin image is the plugin that gives you different components, 2 of them specifically. Static image, which we're about to talk about, and Gatsby image that we're going to talk about later. Static image is when you know exactly what image you want to use. You can point to either a URL or a relative path. Gatsby image is when you're looking at, a bunch of different files that have a string associated with an image, and you want to create the images from that reference path. Gatsby plugin sharp is what's processing all of your images at build time. If you are using specific CMSs, these will do that for you, and you don't necessarily have to use sharp. Those integrations with Gatsby plugin image will differ. We don't have to worry about that today. Gatsby transformer sharp is only necessary when you are using Gatsby image because it's what's exposing the GraphQL query. So again, we are going to worry about that later in this session. The last piece of the puzzle is something that won't be an issue for much longer. It's just something that we didn't quite get in time for Gatsby Conf. But we are using some exports from Gatsby source file system. If you are sourcing anything outside of your pages structure in your Gatsby project, you would already have Gatsby source file system installed and configured for pointing to like an image directory or something. But in this case, because we haven't done that yet, we don't even need to include it as a plugin or configure it. It just needs to be downloaded so that when it tries to reference a function in that library, we can use it. Not an ideal developer experience, definitely something that we're going to change up so that we can grab those things directly from Gatsby and you don't need to have yet another dependency, but something that is the current requirement. So we're going to let Megan take over, and I will stand here and probably add some commentary.
Love it. Okay, so we've installed these plugins. I did it up here and just opened this so you could see it again. Oops. And now, actually, I'm going to open that up so I can see how to spell words. So inside of this plugins array is where you're going to tell Gatsby which plugins that you want to use when you build your site. Oh no, it did the thing again. There we go. How are you doing? That's better. Okay. So these I'm just going to pass in as strings. Gatsby plugin image. And then I'm also going to add, for now, I'm just going to add Gatsby plugin sharp, and we'll worry about the other ones later. Okay, so now a fun thing about when you make changes to your Gatsby config, you have to kill the dev server and start it up again. Sometimes it will ask you if you want. Oh, this is weird. Oh, I see. Oh, that's interesting. You can see the develop process needs to restart, but I can't see that in my screen. Technology. Okay. Okay, so here you can see, I don't know if you can read, the words don't scale up, but it says the develop process needs to be restarted for the changes to Gatsby config to be applied. Do you want to restart the develop process now? And you can either say yes there, and you should see that it will start to rebuild down here. If it doesn't, I'm just going to kill this and start it again myself. Okay, so now that we have Gatsby plugin image, let me switch back to the slides and see what this is gonna, I gotta doesn't like when I switch too quickly, I guess. Oops, I thought there was a slide here, but there's not. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, actually, we're gonna go back to, so silly. We're gonna go back to these docs. So this is the how-to guide for Gatsby plugin image. I'll drop this here one more time. And we're going to go down to the section about deciding which component to use. And we're going to look at the static image. This is going to be what we're adding. I want to add basically a picture to my home page. So here, if you look at how to use the static image component, it's very similar to what we've already been doing with our other components, right? You're going to import it from Gatsby plugin image, and then you're going to use it inside of the return. Oh, I wish that didn't do that. Inside of the return statement for your component. So let's do this one step at a time. I'm going to copy this import statement over to, where did I say I want to add this to my homepage? It doesn't really matter, but everyone should see this photo. So I'm going to put this here, and then boop. Let's see, I want to put this after my paragraph tag. So now I'm going to use the static image component in here. Does this need an opening and a closing? It does not. So I'm going to delete this, boop, and then turn this into a what are these called? Self-closing tag. And then this is going to work very similar to a normal image tag. So you can see here, you can pass in a source, which is going to be the same as your source for your image tag if you were just using regular HTML, and then an alt text because accessibility is important. So I'm going to first pass in source, and I posted this picture of my dog on Twitter. So I want to get the URL for this.
No, you should use the picture of my dog that I posted on Twitter.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
well,
David, this afternoon.
Post a link in the chat.
David is famous enough.
Why
Why choose the
one
most famous puppy?
Yeah, drop a link. We'll post them both. Okay.
You got to show everyone how cute she is.
Of course.
Everyone's going to add Ava to their site. I'm super fine with that.
Yeah.
Yay.
Famous.
Look at that.
With a little face. Okay, this is great.
Look how gracefully
Copy image location. It's good to repeat things. It's good practice.
I was inside on chat with you all, and my husband sent me that picture from outside. And he was like, she's just chilling.
Oops, I made the terminal go away. Oops. Okay, I'm going to add alt text first to my dog. A reddish brown pit bull being cute. And then we're going to add another one of these. Here, I'll put her first.
Can I start talking about defaults while you're doing this?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so one of the main things that's interesting about the way these plugins work is that they're designed to infer the type of layout they are in on your page. And that sounds a little convoluted, so let me explain what your three options are. Your first option is fixed, which means no matter whether the screen gets bigger or smaller, your window size can change. The size of the image will not change. So it will get cropped out of view. It will add white space. It will always stay a standard size. The second is full width. That's what you want to use when you're doing a hero image or something else that is always going to be the full width of your window. It'll get bigger, it'll get smaller. What we expect most people to want to use and what is defaulted as the layout for static image is called constrained. The way constrained works is that it'll get bigger and it'll get smaller. But if the source of your image is a certain size, it can't get bigger than that. If you want to further constrain the size, you can give it a width or a height and force it to be like, 900 pixels or something. And then it won't get bigger than that. But by default, it will be constrained to the size of the original source image. So if I had a little tiny avatar, PNG sort of thing, it wouldn't get bigger than that. So by default, constrained is what it's using. That's what we expect you to want in most cases, but do be aware that fixed and full width are options for use cases you have that need those. And if you want any of the full ridiculous details of some of the options that are available, the talk I did yesterday is going to be on YouTube at the end of the week.
Huzzah. So now we have some dogs on our site. Oh, it doesn't like it when I scroll.
Also, thank you
Yay.
for because I actually don't know this.
His name is Clifford because he's red when the sun hits him just right.
So like Clifford.
He's a good boy. He was sitting in here. There's a beanbag in here that he sits on. He was here earlier, but he's gone now. He's a busy dog.
Yeah, Ava's in the other office for today, so she doesn't disrupt the event.
Nice. Okay, so now we've got images. Why does the image follow the scroll down? I think that has something to do with the weird stuff that's going on.
Yeah, your bottom left.
It doesn't happen on my computer.
Yeah, no, the bottom left-hand side of your screen is the one that keeps having legacy stuff. Why does the image follow the scroll down? Because
I blame
there's
Hopin.
an issue with the monitor. This doesn't happen on the site itself. The image isn't showing up for you at all. Martin, let us help you debug.
Interesting.
What are we seeing?
Yeah.
Can you look in the console and see what you see? Or when you develop your site, are there any messages that you get? This is where I get to go back and add better error messages.
Woo!
Oh, so that's actually something to keep in mind. Static Image is using a Babel plugin, and I'm not going to go into the details of what it's doing, but it is processing every time you rerun Gatsby develop. So if you see issues with it, you might run, this is more true for Gatsby image. You might run Gatsby clean. Gatsby clean is just a good thing to run if you're seeing weird behavior in your site to make sure there isn't some caching that's going on and causing issues. Browser console has something. I have a guess what it is. What is it, Martin? Please ensure. Yep. So Gatsby plugin image needs to be in your Gatsby config file. And this is actually super important to point out because if anyone's used Gatsby before and they've used the previous Gatsby image, they may realize that that's actually not something that was a plugin. It was a package and you downloaded it, but you didn't include it in your plugins array. So really appreciate you purposefully stumbling upon that just so I could make that statement. Thanks, Martin. Being a good team player there. I get an error message that says into age is assigned a value but never used, but I never made such a page into. Okay, so that's probably an import that you have in one of your files that ESLint is notifying you you've imported but you don't use. Could also be a variable. That's ESLint getting mad at you and saying, hey, you're adding something that you don't need and you aren't using. Not sure if I get this. Static image is not for use with page static query GraphQL query images. So anything you used static query for where you were using like a file relative path to access a specific file, static image is the perfect replacement for. Where it's not the right replacement, and we're going to get into an example of this later, is if you're, for example, making pages for all of your markdown files and you have an image in your front matter and you need to process those individually for each page, that's when you need to use a GraphQL query. But if it's a one-off image and you know what it is and you can point to either the relative path or the URL, static image can replace all of the static query GraphQL stuff. It's doing all of that under the hood for you. What's next, Megan?
Woo! So this was the basic process for using plugins in your site. The use step is going to look different for every plugin, but this is going to be the same basic process that you'll use many more times in this workshop and also in future Gatsby sites. So with that said, what questions do you have so far about plugins? We're going to talk a bit more about it later. Well, you'll have a chance to practice some more after. Or we might just keep keeping on because we are further behind than I would like. And I want to make sure that we talk about GraphQL things because that's fun. What happens with the npm install step? So that's going to add the packages to your package JSON. How open? Okay. So when you install, it's going to add it to this list of dependencies in your package JSON and also in your package lock.json. So that's why you kind of need all of these steps. There's this, the install step will do this. The configure step will do this. You'll make changes to your Gatsby config. And then the use step is really like, oops, this, where you're actually using components from the plugin wherever they may be.
The order of
Does the order
does not matter.
Yeah, go for it. It does sometimes, but the plugin README will tell you if it is important.
I don't know what this deprecation warning thing is. I think it's safely ignored. I think I know where it's coming from. I think it's just the versions that you happen to install at once and some clashing, but it shouldn't affect your site. Joshua, can you explain your question? That's only installed locally. So how does that work when pushing up to Gatsby Cloud? I'm not sure I understand it. And Enrique, the plugin cannot be used in CSS. You'd need to use it in your JavaScript and then use CSS to position your whatever text you wanted over top your background image hero layout. npm install is local, but it's creating a package.json file, and that includes all of your dependencies and their versions. And if you also want to have like even more confidence that what you're doing locally is what's going to be built, if you commit your package lock in addition to that, that gives you fidelity against all of your versions that were installed, and that's what Gatsby Cloud runs against. So it'll re-download all of your node modules for you based on that roadmap, essentially. You're not getting a dog, just a beige rectangle where it should be. Okay, so Martin, what you are seeing is the placeholder, which is dominant color, which would take that beige color, and it's not giving you the actual image. So there's something happening with lazy loading there. What, do you have Gatsby plugin Sharp? Yes, because that's the only way it could get dominant color. What browser are you in? Try stopping and then rerunning again after you've added the plugin. Now it's there. Okay, well. Okay.
Turn it off and on again.
all the questions, we're through all the questions. Matt, can go back to what you were doing.
Huzzah! Sweet. No, that's great. This is good. So the next thing to do is to plug the plugin library. So I'm going to drop this link into the chat. Boop. That is going to be the list of all of the plugins where you can check out all the different sorts of features and integrations that you can add into your Gatsby site. I think that there's, according to this screenshot, there's 2,500 of them. So there's a lot of choices. So if you want to, I think we're going to skip this for now, but if you wanted to, these are some good ones that you could start with to add in to your site to follow that same 3-step process of installing it, configuring it in your Gatsby config, and then using it later on in your site. So if you want to check out some on your own, you can look at Gatsby plugin React Helmet that lets you add metadata to your site. You can look at Gatsby plugin Google G-Tag, or there's that one's for Google Analytics, but there are other analytics platforms that you can use too. Or you can look at Gatsby plugin Manifest, which if you're interested in progressive web apps would be a good one to look at. But for now, we soldier on. Okay, another poll.
Polls are up.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's up already.
Sweet. So if you could fill out this poll, just let me know how are we feeling about plugins and like how to use plugins in your site? Okay, cool. It looks like we're feeling pretty good. If you're not, then you can check out the curriculum site. All of the stuff from the slides that we're talking about, and actually a link to the slides themselves, are on that curriculum site that should still be pinned to, to the chat.
Oh.
All right. So now we're going to do a really quick share of what you all are working on so far. So I'm going to drop a link in, oops, it's not here anymore. All the windows are in different places. It's over here. I'm going to drop a link to a Google Doc, if I can copy paste, into the chat. And actually, I'm going to open that up over here too. Why are you doing that? Stop it. Oh, it's because I put too much stuff. Ah, now it's mad. Come on. Why are you like this? Do you want the HTTP? Gallery walk.
It's also taking like a while to open for me.
Okay. Is Bitly down too? Today is a rough day, but it's okay. We're having fun together. Unless is Google Docs down? Because I can't even get to this. Sigh. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Post stuff.
Yeah.
Post a link to your URL.
I mean, if you tweet the thing you're building and use the hashtag, we could also see that. But then we can also create.
Is it my internet? No, because you all are still coming in.
Like, it's not you every. Oh wow, there's a lot of errors.
Oh, too many hits, maybe.
Okay.
We're truly testing.
Image format. Okay, so this is image format. So I want to look at how you're calling static image in case there's something invalid about that. But my guess is Gatsby plugin sharp got installed either improperly or is not included in your config file, or you randomly ended up with an old version, which seems unlikely if you didn't add a specific version. This is all about image.
Okay. Since Google Docs is dead, we're just going to keep going. Drop a link to your site in the chat if you want people to check it out.
Everyone yell at Matt to go to bed.
Matt, go to bed.
I mean, not bed, but like, don't be working.
Okay, we switched up.
7 p.m.
7:40, but he should be like done.
It's the evening time. All right, so now on to other exciting things. We are going to talk about GraphQL. Whee! Exciting times. There is another poll, or there will be another poll.
Setting that up right now.
You are wonderful. There's going to be another poll asking you about GraphQL, just to see, have you used it before? Have you not?
Oh my God.
I hadn't used GraphQL until I learned Gatsby. So
Kyle is now tagging in for Matt and has stolen his name.
This is great.
Sorry, we had
This
fun
is like
here,
real
everybody.
life Among Us.
Yeah.
I am going to bow out now that we've done the image stuff. I'll still be here.
Yay.
So.
You're wonderful. Thanks for
Thanks
helping
so much, Lori.
with the monitor stuff. Real MVP.
Matt Gill, Kyle Kane. This would be like an episode of Face Off.
Oh gosh, that movie's weird.
Uh,
Okay, so it looks like we've got a decent number of people who are using using GraphQL for the first time. Exciting, welcome. And some people who have tried it out but haven't used it much. That's okay.
Wow.
Hopefully, the way that we use it today should be pretty straightforward and easy to do. So now we've got this site so far that just has some standalone pages, but really we started this journey trying to build a blog. So let's get into that. We are going to need GraphQL to do this, and so let's do it. Before we dig into the details, a quick spiel. One of the cool things about Gatsby is that it lets you pull in data from anywhere. So that means that, you know, different platforms are optimized to store different kinds of information. So like WordPress is really for writing blog posts, but if you wanted to use something like Shopify, that's really good for storing product information. So the nice thing about Gatsby and all of its plugins is that you can integrate with all of those different tools based on whatever is the best fit for what you're trying to achieve. So the way that data works in Gatsby is there is a GraphQL data layer. So when your site gets built, a bunch of data gets pulled into this like one data layer. We'll look at how that happens later. And then you can pull data out of that data layer and into your components or pages using GraphQL queries. So we are going to take a quick look at what that looks like. So when you started your develop server, you might have seen this other URL with this is 3 underscores. It's localhost 8000, 3 underscores, and then GraphQL. And this only shows up with the develop server, but Gatsby, let me come over here. Gatsby automatically creates a new endpoint for your site that lets you use this tool called graphql. Oop. The annoying thing about graphql is I cannot drag this to make it smaller. Oh, there we go. But we will do our best. Hopefully that's not too bad. Oops. Okay, so what GraphqL lets you do is explore all of the different data that you have in your data layer. So you can see here on, what is this, the left side in this dropdown. Oh, that's weird, it doesn't refresh for you. In this dropdown on the left, you can see all of the different types of data that you have. These all come in pairs. So there's like, you can see there's an all directory and a directory, and there's an all file and a file. And these together you can use to either query for all of the pieces of data of a specific type or just one piece. We're going to look right now at site. So if you use these drop downs to toggle, there we go. If you use these drop downs to toggle, you can see the different fields. This is a big old pain. You can see the different fields that are available on each of these data types. So if I come down into, I have to like keep dragging this so that it refreshes. But if I come down into site and then down into site metadata and then click on, let's do title and description, what the heck? You can see that it updates this middle section, which is the query that you're currently building. So if you can't see, but I have these checkboxes checked. There we go. So you can use this Explorer pane on the left to build up different queries with different fields. And then you can press this triangle button, the play button in the middle, the top middle of your screen, and it's going to execute this query so that you can see on the right side here, you can see the results of what this query will give you back in your site. So you can see here, I don't have a description, but you can see that my title from the Gatsby config shows up here. If I wanted to change this, so let's see this working in real time. So I'm gonna drag this back open. I'm gonna go into my Gatsby config file. And this particular field, this site, there we go, this site metadata comes out of your Gatsby config site metadata here. So you can see that that name is the same, my super cool blog. And then if I wanted to add a description here, this will be a string. And my blog where I write super cool stuff. I'm a great writer. Here we go. Okay, so now, I don't know if I have to reload this page or not. Let's see. So now I still have my title and my description selected here, and if I refresh it, boom. Now you can see the description shows up in the results. So this is an example of how you can use this graphical tool to really prevent yourself from needing to write any GraphQL queries yourself. You can really just play around with this. Like, I don't know what some of these other things are, but let's click on, there's a host, there's a port. Cool. And then if you run it, you can see there's other data. Really, you only want to pull in as many fields as you're going to use in your site. But we can look more at that later. So let me just double check my slides. Great. Yeah, we talked about this. The data for site metadata comes from your Gatsby config. So now let's look at these queries. How do you use these queries in your actual pages and components? So we've got our two types of components, our page queries and our building block components. We're going to talk about page queries in a moment, but now we're going to talk about the building block components. So there is this hook called use static query that you can use to pull. How do I make this bigger? Can you read that? Maybe a little bit. That might be as good as I can make it. There's this hook called use static query that you can import from the Gatsby package that will let you build and run queries inside of your components. So you can see in this example, the first step, we import use static query, and also this GraphQL, this is a tag. It's called a template tag. You don't really need to understand how it works, but it's basically so that like when you have strings that look like GraphQL queries, Gatsby knows what to do with them. So first step is you import both of those. Your second step is that you're going to use static query and the GraphQL tag to query for your data. So in here, you could just copy and paste that query right out of GraphQL and put them into this GraphQL tag. And then the third step is that you can then use your data in your component. So you can see that like when I used use static query, I was saving the result of that query in this data variable. And then in here, you can use the dot notation to just drill down into the properties on that object and get out the specific piece of information that you need. And that form is going to match what you see in this results thing. So I guess this data one is sort of implied. You don't have to, like, I didn't have to do data.data, but you start at the like next level down. So you can start at site metadata title.
Yeah. I think it's
Oops,
important to also add that use static query just works with static content. Like later along the line, we'll see like more stuff, but just only like stuff that's like not changing anytime soon or on its own. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. Any questions about that before I send you off to do
How
this?
to call. What?
How to call null data. I don't know what that means. Could you clarify?
I mean, if
Yeah, previous slide.
if the
Sometimes if the fields are null, you just don't have any data there. Like before when I didn't have a description in my Gatsby config, when I ran this query asking for description, there isn't actually any description, so it makes it null. Is that
or
what
maybe
you're
you're asking
asking?
how to use like nullability in GraphQL. I just found an article for it, so you could check that
I
out.
don't know. Yeah, full disclosure, I'm not by any means a GraphQL expert, but I know just enough GraphQL to use
Yeah,
in my Gatsby
it's
sites.
kind of mostly when we use like GraphQL with Gatsby, it's for sourcing stuff and just displaying stuff. But it's also a good way to like get started with GraphQL because then you understand like what queries look like, what's query variables look like. We'll still get to like these kind of things, but then along the line, like, okay, what else can I do with this? And then you start to like do the other stuff, the fun stuff. We are using some Apollo stuff, yes. I'm not sure.
Yeah, as far as I know, these GraphQL queries are run when your site is built. So sometimes if you make changes to the GraphQL queries in your components, you'll also have to restart the develop server. Sometimes it will restart it for you, but if it doesn't, then when in doubt, start it or stop it and start it again. Okay, so hopefully this has been going okay. If not, we'll walk through how to do this together. So, whoops. So let's go through and show how to add that in our own code. It's going to look very similar to that other example from the slides. But let's go into our layout component because this is right now where I'm pulling. Well, I guess I want the site title to show up on every page. And so because the layout component shows up on every page, I'm going to stick it in here. So first step, import use static query. Oh, actually, I'm going to move this up here because I already have a place where I'm importing things from Gatsby. So I'm going to add use static query,
I
and
think one
I'm
of your
going to
components is
add.
covering the other, so it kind of looks like it's okay. Got it. No, sorry.
How's that? Whee! Thanks. I would have just kept going. Okay. Great. And so then I'm going to put still inside of my layout component, but before this return statement, I'm going to write my query. So I'm going to say const data equals use static query. And then this takes a GraphQL templated string. Whoops. So these, I'm using the word GraphQL and then the tick button for my keyboard is right under the escape key.
The backtick?
And then in here,
yeah,
is that what that's called? That. And then in there, I'm just going to copy and paste. I don't care about the description, so I'm going to delete that. But I'm going to copy and paste this query out of graphical. Oops.
It's glitching
Speech
again.
on over.
Okay, we're good.
Ah. There we go. And I'm just going to paste that in here, in between the two backticks. Boop. And then I'm going to indent it so that it's pretty. Okay, and now, so now when my page builds, this will create a data variable that has my site metadata title. And then I want this to show up, I think I want it to show up before my H1. So I'm going to, what do I want this to be? I want to make this a P tag because it's not the H1. The H1 I want to be the like title of the specific page that I'm on, not my overall blog. And then in here, I am going to use, I'm just going to follow this structure. So it's data dot, I gotta turn off autocorrect or autosuggest. Data dot site metadata, spell that right, dot title. Okay, and then, ooh, don't do that. Go away. Okay, and then I'm going to see if this just worked without me needing to restart. She's mad. Okay, I'm going to refresh the page. Boom, and now you can see here's my title up here. And actually, I'm going to make another change to my layout component because I want this nav bar to show up.
Yeah.
There we go. I want to make this nav bar show up above my page title. Like I want my blog title and my nav bar to be together. So I'm just gonna, there we go. I'm just going to swap. Oops, not that one. Move this down to be underneath my navigation. There we go. Imagine that it was styled and pretty.
We should add more styling. What do you think?
Okay.
We should add more styling.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, what should we do? I'm not super creative when it comes to styling. So this is where I could use
a container to like cover the. Oh wow. Okay, to like cover the whole body.
Like a background color. My CSS skills are very limited. I guess I know how to do color.
Yeah, record purple always.
Jump on the. Let's see. I can make this bigger. Let's see.
We said CSS and Nachi appeared.
Yes.
Nachi, you want to hop on?
Navbar. Yeah. Okay, so I made this title class inside of my module.css file, and then I'm pulling that in as a named import. And now I'm going to add that as a class name.
Max says
here.
Max says we should use camel casing for the styles.
For what?
What do you recommend for styling for someone who avoids CSS like a plague? Get you a Nachi.
Yeah.
Or oh yeah.
Nachi recommends Tailwind.
Mostly Tailwind. This would work. Yeah, did we import
my styles are not being applied here? Oh, oops. That's because I put it on the title and not on my like. this paragraph, which is my
And
title.
now, boom.
Live
Yes.
debugging. Boom. There we go. It's giant. Nachi, don't judge my design skills.
Pavil is on fire. He says he doesn't run it locally. He just pushes it up to Gatsby Cloud, sees what's going on. Yeah, my friend, you
Wow.
like to live dangerously.
Brave.
Like that.
Okay, we've done some things. How are you feeling about this use static query?
Quick plug, if you're like Megan and I and you're not really a fan of CSS, a former colleague of ours, Josh, is doing a CSS, the importance of CSS course, so you should probably check that out. Should check, the link is here. Thanks, Max, for the link. Yes.
There we go.
He does.
It's beautiful.
He
makes
does.
some really pretty stuff. Whoops.
Josh is an amazing teacher, and I have signed up for this because, as you have seen, if there's no Nachi, yeah, you're seeing if there's no Nachi, like, I'm not sure where will we be with CSS.
Right? See, if you know CSS, it takes you from building something like this to building something like this. Oh, I guess early access is on March 10th. That's coming up. If you're interested,
for sure.
I'm definitely going to check that out. Okay, free advertising. So now what we're going to do is take a closer look at this first part of our like data layer lifecycle. So we've already looked at the second part where you use GraphQL queries to pull data out of your components, but now how do you get data into the data layer? And the answer is with something called a source plugin. So source plugins can pull data from a variety of different sources. So you might want data to come from your file system, which is what we're going to do later. Or you might have like a database or a specific CMS like Contentful or Content Stack that you want to pull information from. And so there will be a different source plugin for each one of those data sources. Yes, or WordPress. So we're going to look at a specific source plugin called Gatsby Source File System. So this is a little diagram to show you roughly what we're going to be doing in this next step for setting up your blog page. So we're going to do this in several steps over the next couple of sections. So we'll do it in stages, but by the end you'll have something like what we showed earlier with separate pages for each post. So the way that this is going to work is in your local file system. So in your project directory, your repo, you're going to create some .mdx files for each of your posts. And then we're going to use the Gatsby source file system source plugin to pull data, to pull those MDX posts into the GraphQL data layer. And then this Gatsby source file system is going to give you two new fields that you can use in your queries, all file and file. And you will use the all file, what did I say? The all file field to pull in. For now, we're just going to do the names of these files and put them into a new /blog page that you'll build. So that's kind of a lot. This slide would be another good one if you're into screenshots to save. This is sort of the general process for how you use data in your site in general. So the stages are basically you add a source plugin, which is going to pull data from wherever it is into Gatsby's GraphQL data layer. And then you're going to use graphql the way that we did before to design the query that's going to pull out exactly the fields that you want to use in your component. And then you're going to go into your code and add that GraphQL query into your component. And then you can like use the data however you want inside of your component. So now we're going to look at the other ways to use queries in page components, the other type of component. Some things to note about page queries: you can only have one per page, and you can only use query variables in page queries. If that doesn't mean anything yet, don't worry about it. We'll get to that in a little bit. So this is hopefully large enough to read, but this is how you use page queries in your component, or in your page components. So it's a very similar process. You're going to import just the GraphQL tag. You're going to export a page query. So see, this syntax is a little bit different from use static query, where we put our query directly into the component. This is a separate export from your page component. So it like lives outside of your home page component. But the way that you define it looks very similar, where you use the GraphQL tag, the backticks, and then put like copy paste your query from graphical into here. And then I guess I should have a box around this part too. But with page queries, there will be a prop that automatically gets added to your page component called data. And you can use that data the same way that we did from our use static query example. You can use the destructuring, you can use prop destructuring, or you can just use the dot notation to drill down to whatever fields that you want. Can you go back to the static query for just a quick second? If you go to the curriculum site, we should be on part 4 right now. There will be code examples there. And that's even better because you can copy and paste. Or I'm on this slide. Boop. Okay, so we're going to take a brief tangent to create some of our MDX files that we'll pull in later on. And then we'll get back to the page queries in a moment. So you can follow along with me. We're going to make 2 MDX files. You can make more if you feel fancy. And we're going to add to those MDX files. If you've worked with Markdown, this will look familiar. If you haven't, we'll do it together and it's totally fine. But you're going to add to your MDX file some front matter with a title and a date. And you're also going to just so that we have some content in our posts, you just add some Markdown headings, paragraphs, lists, whatever kind of content that you want inside of your component. So if we go back to here. So I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to create it at the top level of my project. And I'm going to call it, oops, that didn't put it where I thought it was going to. There. I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it blog. And the reason I'm putting it out here and not inside of source is because it's not code. It's not actual source code for my site. It doesn't matter where you put it. On my own personal blog, I put it inside of source because I didn't know. And then Obinna told me that doesn't have to go there. And I was like, oh, you're right. So we're all on our own learning journeys. But I'm going to create an MDX post here, my first post.mdx. Boop. Here we go. Okay, and then the way that you create front matter is you add these 3, what are these? Hyphens, 3 dashes, 3 minus signs. There's a lot of names. So you put one before and one after your front matter content. And then this is just going to be key value pairs. So I'm going to give it a title. Whoops. And I'm going to call this my first post. And very creative. And then date. What's today? Today It's 2021. It's
your
March
screen
3rd, I think.
isn't showing us updates. Oh yeah.
Ah, dang it. There we go. Sorry. We've got front matter now, just like magic. Okay, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some stuff. I write cool posts. They have fun formatting. They are cool. They are neat. You should read them. Okay, so I'm just showing you some different syntax that you can use for Markdown. You can do things like lists. You can do things like make things italic or bold if you fancy. You can do stuff like headings. There's a lot of resources online that show Markdown syntax of different fun things. But then, because I want to have multiple of these, I'm going to just make another one, another post.mdx. And I'm just going to copy the structure of this. My second post, I'm going to time travel and say this is tomorrow. And I write, let's see, I'm going to make this content different just so that it's easier to see when I switch pages. But cool stuff. We're having a great time. Cool. We've got some posts now. I don't know about this bug in the chat. If anybody has any ideas. Oh yeah, thanks. Lori can help you. Okay. Cool. So now we've done this. We've got some MDX pages. So this next part is a bunch of steps. I'm going to give you some time to try it on your own, and then we'll walk through how to do it together. But the steps are basically going to be, you're going to configure the Gatsby source file system. So we already imported this into your project. So now you just have to do the configure step. So add it to your Gatsby config. This one is going to look a little bit different. So check the README for the plugin for how to do that. I think it might also be on the curriculum site. I'm not sure.
So if you ever
but the plugin library will
parts, like you can always just check the curriculum sites, so you can see where you can join from. So I saw a question for how do you include images. It's on the part 3 of the curriculum sites, so you can check that out and you can get up to speed. Oh, images. Oh
yeah, if you want to add Markdown images, yeah, there's another plugin that you're going to have to use called Gatsby. I think it's Gatsby Remark Images.
Lori is the new Sid.
Thanks, Lori.
Very fast.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Okay, so yeah, so that's like a separate thing that you can add later on. But for now, this is roughly what we're going to do. We're just going to pull the post titles onto the page. So you'll configure Gatsby source file system. You'll use graphql the way that we did before to use the all file field and pull out a query that gives you the data that you want. So in our case, just the name of the file. And then you're going to create a new blog page. So call back to earlier. You'll have to create a new page, add a page query in that component to pull in the data using the GraphQL query that you made in graphql. And then you can loop over each of the nodes in your response to display the title of each post. So that's actually maybe worth taking a look at. Whee! So let's go back to graphical. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we were looking at this site query before, which is a little bit different. If we go up to one of these all whatever, all fields, all directory, all file, one of those fields, the structure in here looks a little bit different. Let me refresh that. There we go. So you'll have this nodes field that is going to be, it's like it will list out all of the nodes so in this case, all of the file nodes that you have in the data layer. So you can use this. Oh, I'm going to delete this site part because I don't care about that anymore. But you can use this you can use the nodes to get back an array, basically, of all of the pieces of that kind of data. You'll also, for this, because we have these images showing back in our list of files, you're going to have to use this filter. Oh, you can't see that. Use this filter up here to select just the files inside of your blog post or blog folder. So that's a lot of stuff. I'm going to give you a chance to try it out on your own, just so that you can have some good old productive struggle. And then we'll come back in, whoa, this is huge. We'll come back in like 5 minutes, we'll say. There we go.
Oh, so what would do? Okay.
What are we doing? We are on part 4.
This is
I
the
don't know
exercise.
which exercise this is. It might be the first one.
No, this is exercise 3.
Yeah, so if you go down to the bottom of part 4, yeah, this is exercise 3. Thanks, Obinna. So if you go here, it'll tell you what you're doing. It'll show you, like, this is what we're going for, this screenshot. And there's also some hints.
And then the solution. the solution that tells you you learn more if you walk.
So the solution will link you to GitHub.
I know, but I clicked on solution to see the solution.
Yeah, you will. I know. It's just my last attempt to guilt trip you into doing it. Go back to this big old timer.
So after this, do we configure the source file system in Gatsby config?
Yeah, that'll be part of this step. That's like the first step.
This is almost getting to the end, the fun part.
I know, we only have a half hour left. This went by so fast, and there were more technical difficulties than I thought. I know, I'm having fun. I hope y'all are having fun.
Yeah.
If you walk away having learned at least one thing, I'll consider that a success. And this curriculum site will stay up too if you want to go through later and poke around. Yeah, learning all the things. This is definitely a lot. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't even worry about it. Yes, a recording of this will be available on YouTube. You'll get to see.
You get to see Lori.
All of our technical troubleshooting.
You get to see Lori come on.
I think we've made it to an okay place now. Yeah, thanks, Lori. Yeah, that is the curriculum
Hosted
site,
on
Jim.
Gatsby Cloud.
Woo.
Yeah.
Lori, it was great. You were like a special
It's always
featured
great
segment.
having Lori on
Just like
stream.
impromptu. John,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure all of the workshops will be recorded. Lori, you're silly.
Speaking of Lori just did like a course on Egghead. A good course.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That is, we have a plug for it later, but we should do it
don't
now
worry.
because we're not. Lori, do you have a link easily accessible?
I am the plug.
There's one in the
Bookstein.
slides. Oh, Obinna's got it.
Lori has like this
A+.
course that teaches you how to build with the new stuff that has been available on Gatsby. So stuff like we're going to look at some of these things like the file system API and the new Gatsby image plugin. And I will say this, you want to learn from Lori because like Lori's an amazing teacher and she's so excited to teach, which is cool.
Steve, we recommend Lori's Egghead course
Yeah.
that Obinna posted. That's the best place.
And
you're gonna learn everything
get
that
to
you've
see
learned
Lori
in this and
jump
more.
up and down and be excited about building stuff.
It's gonna be great.
That's a plus. Oh yeah, Westpost also has like a Gatsby master course that you can check out also. I really love seeing courses of like, you know, different ways of building with Gatsby and different people doing these things.
All right, how did it go, friends? How far did we get?
I do not think there is a poll.
Oh, actually, was there a poll for that? There might have been.
Oh yeah, we there's I can make
bad.
there's one.
Well, let's make one. We'll do it live.
I'm not.
Okay, can you make one and then just put these like I finished step one, I finished step two.
How do you feel about
step three.
queries?
Or I got stuck. You can just do like this one that's on.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
The slide. Or here, here, I got it.
Martin is posting for the rest of the class. He's like, hey, look. Yeah, Sanity is an awesome CMS. It's helpful if you're like trying to have like more control over like more of like a backend CMS integration kind of thing.
Okay, there's a new poll now.
Martin, maybe make sure the name of the file and the path, like make sure that the naming is correct with your file and the name that you have in your resolver. The option, sorry. What do you see? Let me know what. Oh, quick fact, like just since we're waiting. So I used to be very scared of like errors when like with CMS, when anything I just throw an error, I'd be like, oh no. Lori did this thing where she would say, go solve it first. If you don't get it, then ask me one question. And now I see errors and I'm like, yes. Where can I fix it?
There you go. I love that. Okay, for the folks, I'm seeing a lot of folks got stuck. Which part did you get stuck on? Step one, step two, or step three? I guess I got to think about these polls more.
The query.
The query. Okay. Okay, great. Let's do it together. All right. So I'm going to first open up the Gatsby source plugin.
It's glitchy again.
Ooh, there we go.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Okay. Well, let me scroll it into view and then I'll. Here we go. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is open up the plugin for Gatsby source file system so that I can see how to configure it. All right. We've already installed it, so I can skip that. Okay. So I'm going to copy one of these. So see how like these, oops, the configuration for Gatsby source file system looks different than the other plugins that we've used so far, because this one requires some extra options to be passed in. So that's this like options array here, or not array, it's an object. So I'm going to go back to my Gatsby config and shut this for now. And then I'm going to go, whoops, here we go. I'm going to go down to, I'm just going to put it at the bottom because I like to keep them in the order that we added them in, but that's just me. And paste this in here. I'm going to change the name of this. Let's see. I want it to be posts, I guess, because it's my blog posts. And then the path to get to the actual file or folder on my file system is not going to be in source/pages, because I put my blog posts in source/blog up here, or not source, just in blog. So outside of source altogether. So I'm going to change this to instead say blog. And then it's going to tell me, looks like that this might have restarted it for me, restarted the dev server for me. But let's see. So now I'm going to go back to graphql. Scooch this over. Okay. So now I'm going to go to, let's close this for now. I'm going to go to file, or sorry, I'm going to go to all file. I'm going to go to nodes, and then I want just the name field. I guess I'll leave the extension for now so we can see something, but, it must not have actually restarted the dev server. I shall do it now. So Control-C, rerun Gatsby develop. And it's going to be thinking, let's see. Okay, great, success. So let's scooch this back over. Okay, so now, I don't know if I have to refresh this page. Let's see. Aha, I don't. So, I wish I could make this smaller. So you can see here that it's pulling in, because it's all of the files, it's pulling in these posts from our blog folder, which is what we want, but it's also pulling in these JPEG files from the pictures that we added. To be totally honest, I don't know where these are coming from. I think it might be cached or something, but regardless, we don't want these to show up on our blog page. So we're going to add one of these filters. Let's see this. Yeah. So I'm going to open this filter. Boop. Okay. And this is going to show me a bunch of ways that I can limit what's coming back from the response. Yeah, Lori, why are they showing up even though they're not in the file system? That's the part that I don't understand. Okay. I don't totally know which of these fields that I want, so I'm going to just ask for a bunch of them and then see what they're in. See what comes back so that I can figure out how to filter. So I added relative path and relative directory. Let's see. Neither of those is really what I want. I'm looking for something that says like, I'm in the blog directory. Oh, here, absolute path. That seems like something. Cool. That has the full path, so I'm gonna use that. All right, I can delete this stuff for now because I don't actually want the data back for that. I just want to use it to filter. There we go. So I'm going to go back up here, look for absolute path. And then this is going to give me some different options. I want to look for a string that contains blog, like /blog. So I'm going to use this regex one. And then I'm going to pass in, I think my regex has to go in between 2 slashes. And I'm going to pass in the word blog. I think it's this slash and not the other slash, but we'll see. Nope, maybe not. Let's try the other way. That didn't work either. I'm going to cheat and look at the solution. If I can find that site. Okay, so I'm back on the curriculum site now. Whee! Solution. I'm going to open this in a new tab. Hooray. Okay, here we go. Here's my Gatsby config. I did that. I don't have to do that yet. This one I used this dir path or field instead. Let's see what that is.
Yeah, you're trying to show what it looks like with the file system before turning into MDX.
No, I'm really just trying to get back something. See, this looks the same to me. I want a field that shows is it just blog? No. Oh, syntax. Oh, it's because I named my site blog. That's why this isn't working. Let's see if I can figure this out. Ah, okay, great. So the reason that was happening, let me just back up. I had my regex set up to say, give me back anything where the directory contains the string blog. Ooh, add a $sign to end, to match the end of the pattern. Like that. It's not gonna work. Wow. See, this is great. Learning from y'all.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, so because my site has the name My Super Cool Blog, when I was just looking for blog, the regex was looking at those other files, looking at like the files from the static image and saying, oh, I see that this says blog in here, so this must be what you want. But now if I add this $sign, it doesn't. Hooray. And this is why I love graphql, is because you can test it out in here without needing to mess around with your components. You can just see, this is the data I'm going to get back. Is it what I want or is it not? Okay, and I don't actually care about these things. Thanks for going on that journey with me, y'all. Okay, we're going to copy this into, well, actually, we have to create a blog page now. So let's come over here.
The layout is broken.
So not to be, I added to the regex. I know regex is a good skill. I need to work on that too. Lots to learn. The regex goes over here. See on the left in the graphical viewer, there's all of these options that you can filter by. So I'm filtering specifically on the dir field, and you can click that regex button and add it in there. So back to pages. We're going to make a new page. It's going to go in source/pages because that's where our pages live. And I'm going to call this blog.js. All right, this is our 3 steps. 3 steps for a React component. First step, import. Oh, you can't see this.
Yeah, okay.
There we go. Sigh. Import React from React. Oh, that's really annoying. Why doesn't that update? What about now? Okay. Const blog page equals something that we'll define in a second. And then I'm going to export default blog, page. All right. This is going to return some stuff. I want to use my layout component. So I'm going to import that up here. Whoops, not like that. From, where am I? I'm in pages, so I go up to components and then layout. I'm going to shut that. Okay. There we go. And now this layout component took a page title prop. Whoops. What is this? Blog page. And then I'm going to put some stuff in here in a second. So now if we load this, actually, while I'm in here, I'm going to go to my layout component, and I'm also going to add another item to my nav bar, just so that you can see blog. Lori, same. If Google didn't exist, I would be so bad at my job. Okay. Ooh. All right, so there we go. I've got this blog page now. I really should make this title smaller because it's obnoxiously big. There's
font size that we
some stuff we're going to put in. Yeah, let me just make that smaller so that it's not so annoying. I'll just delete that. You will be the size you will be. There we go. Okay, now to the GraphQL. So what we are going to do, let me pull up. Actually, I'm going to pull it up over here so it can be side by side. Welcome to my life where I have too many tabs. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up to the part about page queries here. Whoops, and I'm going to refresh that so you can actually see it. Great, so looking at this as an example, I'm going to first import GraphQL, the GraphQL tag. Import GraphQL from Gatsby. Okay, and then the next step is to export the page query. So I'm going to export, this is the important part, you have to remember to export it, otherwise it's not going to work. Export const query equals, and then this, I'm going to type the GraphQL part, and then I'm going to go back into graphical, and I'm going to copy, paste, man, I'm going to copy paste this piece, so the query that I built, into my page query. All right, with me so far? I'm going to close some of these tabs. I don't need Twitter anymore. I don't need this. Okay. Great. So now the third step is naming the query important? I don't know. I do it because I'm copy pasting stuff out. Somebody who was testing the curriculum earlier said that it didn't work. He was getting errors without the named query. I don't know though. Try it. Tell me what happens.
Yeah, you don't.
Okay, so now that we. Oh, I can't tell if you're breaking up or I'm breaking up. Oh, sad. Okay, am I still here? Beep boop, beep boop. Okay, cool. This is Robo Obinna. The AI is real good. Oh, hi. Okay, well, we'll just keep going and hopefully you'll come back. Yeah, we can hear you in the chat, or not hear you. We can see your chat messages, but we can't. Oh, he's gone. All right, we're gonna keep going. Okay, so we've got our query exported now, and now we're gonna actually use the data in our component. So we're gonna destructure our props object, and we're gonna pull out data, which is the name that it gets automatically. And now inside of here, we're gonna do some JavaScript magic. So if we go back to graphical, you can't actually see both of these things at the same time. But if we go over here and I make this smaller, there we go. So you can see inside of the response that you get, you're going to get all nodes. So we can drill down into that. And then this nodes property is an array. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the JavaScript map function. Yeah, we're going to use the JavaScript map. It's an array function. That's what I was looking for. To loop over all of the node objects in this array and then do something.
Yeah.
He's back.
I think
Hello.
my computer has
We missed you.
had enough. It's like Obinna. You still
It's
here?
okay. We're both having a rough time with the computers today. But we're doing our best. So I'm going to, based on the structure that we saw in what's that thing called? Graphql. Oh, it's been a day. I'm going to take the all file field. I'm going to take the nodes, and then because nodes is an array, it has that map method. Method, that's the word I was looking for earlier. And then this is going to take a function. Ugh. I don't know how to get rid of those things, but they're really annoying. So for each node, now I'm blanking on the syntax. Here we go. For each node, I'm going to, this is too big. I know there's syntax errors. I'm getting to it. There we go. Oof. All right, so for each node, for each one of these objects in this array, I want to output just the name. So node dot name. Great, and we can see that that matches up here. All right, let's try it and see what happens. It looks like that built fine. No code frame could be generated. What if I stop this and start it again while I debug, just in case? Oh yeah, can I show the code? Here, we can look at it together. Failed extracting queries from components. Great, what is wrong?
Oh, I think you need to remove the my query, the name.
Oh.
Try it
Does
again.
it not work with it? That's good to know. So I guess page queries don't want names. They're like, we got it.
Well, sometimes I think it's duplicate.
Okay, cool. So now you can see the names are showing up. This is not totally what I want because I want to add some semantic HTML in here. So let's do that. Let's, instead of returning just the name, let's return some JSX instead. So I want this to be an li, which shows node.name. So I'm going to scooch this up in here. And then because I have LIs, I'm going to wrap them all in an unordered list. Hopefully this will work. Boom! Oh, you can't see my thing.
Yes.
There we go. Ta-da! Oh yeah, the second paren here is to close this paren, and then the other one closes the whole map. I guess I could put this on like multiple lines like this to make it clearer. Whoops, wrong way. Ta-da! Yeah, no problem. I do that all the time. That's when IDEs become really useful. Yeah, should we do a wrap up now? Probably. All right, well, thanks for coming on this journey with us. We did not get as far as I had hoped. There are still things with like the file system routes API and the using dynamic images from the Gatsby plugin image plugin.
Oh no. Wait, we have like 5 minutes left?
I know, time.
Oh my day.
Yeah, it's already almost 1. It went by really fast and there were a lot of technical difficulties on my end, so that is my bad and I apologize. Yeah, totally. If you want to keep going through the curriculum that's on that curriculum site, that's basically what we're using to rewrite the V3 version of the tutorial. So any and all feedback that you have would be deeply, deeply appreciated. There are also, I should have mentioned this earlier, at the end of every section, there is this feedback form so that you can give feedback on that particular part if there was something that's confusing. Or on the home page, there's also one at the bottom of this, I think, that's feedback for the overall workshop.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe if since we didn't get to like the end of it, Megan, if you're free, we could do like a live stream and just finish it off. Yeah, we can.
Ooh, that sounds fun. I don't know how to do that.
We could do that maybe like next week. We'll just finish this up. But then yes, this will be recorded, and we can finish it up like later. And then you can also check out Lori's course because it covers like the last bit of what we're doing. Yeah, like live stream for sure. How you let us know about the later live stream? We'll tweet about it.
Probably Twitter. Yeah. Here, this is a great plug. Back to the slides, the very end. Yeah. This is us. This is where we live on the internet. Lori's course is posted on the curriculum site under the like what's next, the very last section. It's also on this, what is this, the third to last slide. It's also, Obinna posted a link in the chat just now. Yeah. With the last like minute or two that we have, I would love if people could say these things in the chat. So just let us know like what this is a I don't know, like a game that I've played other places like Rosebud Thorn. So what is your rose? Like what is your favorite thing from the workshop today? Bud is like, what is something that you wish that we had more time to cover in the future? And then Thorn is like, what is something that you're still finding confusing?
Yeah.
So if you have
please let us know, and also like just look out for just look out for the live stream. It would be something nice to do. If you've ever watched like Megan and I, oh no, nobody has, but then Megan and I do like a lot of pairing, and it's always a fun place because it's like, what does this button do?
Yeah, it doesn't always go as planned, but it's always a good time.
For sure. Okay.
We've
Oh,
also got
I was looking
what,
at
like
the wrong
5
time
minutes
because I'm like,
left?
what? This is over? No, no.
Well, it's
Yeah,
super late for you. You're like
it's
in
almost
the
1
wee
a.m.
hours now. What's the tutorial that you're rewriting for V3? This is like the Gatsby tutorial. So right now, if you go to let's do it together. If you go to gatsbyjs.com/docs/tutorial, this is our tutorial that walks you through basically like what we've talked about now. So far, this is still talking about a lot of the V2 ways of doing things. So like stuff like the file system routes and the new image component, as far as I know, are not in here yet, but that's next on the list, on the list of things to do, at least for me, probably. Yeah, so any feedback that you have about how this went, which parts were confusing, will help us make this better.
Oh,
And if you have any just sort of generic questions, we've got a couple minutes to chat.
Honza, don't worry about it. Like in the next like version of this, we will do a recap of all the stuff we've talked about today, and then add like some more stuff, with the last 2 parts of it. So it will be fun.
Yeah, graphical also works the other way around, where if you paste in a query, it'll check all of the
Yeah.
boxes for you. So if you want to just paste in the query from the solution, then you can go back over to this Explorer pane and then just like look around and see where the thing is. It gets confusing because there's these like purple sections. So there's like, if you open up filter, then all of the same fields are listed as if you close it, like they're all down in this nodes object too. Oops. So you have to be careful about which part of the
Brandon said, tell
of
us the
the
poem, Obinna.
field
How
you're
do you
in.
know I write poetry?
Yeah, impromptu.
It
Isn't
is?
it in your bio?
Oh,
Didn't you
wow.
put it in your bio
Okay.
for this workshop?
I write mostly melancholic poems. Like you probably don't want to hear this after this workshop. Maybe someday.
Okay, I'm glad that some people were at least
Yeah.
excited about GraphQL, if not, if
I
it
I
doesn't make
hope
total
like in the
sense.
next the coming weeks, like Megan and I would do like a lot of live streams. This is my plan. I'm roping Megan in without her
Yeah, put it
knowing.
into the
We're going
universe.
to be hanging out on like YouTube and helping y'all with like Gatsby, and hopefully you find it easier.
Yeah,
And also, please, if
totally.
you have any questions, like ping us on Twitter. Always happy to help you out. Lori. Oh, okay. Lori's answering questions. This is what Lori does.
Oh, my dog has poked in. Hi, buddy. Oh, he just left. Also, my room here is a big old mess, so I don't want you to see the floor. I post lots of pictures of him on Twitter, though. Do you want to make a quick appearance? You can come show him. This is my dog.
Hey.
His name is Clifford.
Hey, Clifford.
He's a good boy. They love you.
Man.
You're famous. He does sleep on his back.
So
It's
this,
so
I'm
weird.
guessing, Abdul is from Nigeria because he said Clifford Oji. So Clifford Oji is an actor, a Nigerian actor. So he's like, oh, Clifford Oji.
Oh, that's funny. We seem to have devolved into dog things.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
totally happy
this is
about it, though.
this is like my dream role. Oh, nice. Nigerian living in Canada. I'm Nigerian living in the UAE. So there are a lot of us. Hi, Lori.
Oh, is there stuff going on in the main stage?
Uh,
I don't know how to close a
I
session.
do not think it does.
Does it just close automatically?
Yeah, I
This is
know,
going to be a
right? At the
weird
end, it's going to
recording
be
to
like,
watch back.
all right, thank you all.
Thank you all
Let's
for
just leave.
coming.
Let's just leave and go back to the main stage. Yeah. Bye.
Yeah, we just leave. All right. Bye.